Volume 11, Chapter 500, Advent, Part 1, ha 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 ha, a bright laughter echoed. One of the demons on the ground behind Doomguard split in half. I thought I'd hidden myself pretty well. I guess I can't fool you, my lord demon king. A demon with hands made of sharp saw blades showed himself. He was wearing a formal suit with his hair neatly swept back, a rare sight to see for a demon. Erikyle, the commander of the Despair Corps, bowed courteously. Of course I would, after all we were family, Kang-woo said in a deep tone. The word family sounded awkward to him despite saying it himself. Family, yes, we sure were. Such a word doesn't suit demons, but you were different, my king. Erikyle chuckled. The demon king was ruthless to his enemies but treated the demons whom he accepted as his retainer like family. You were the closest thing to what a demon should be, as well as the one furthest from it, mentioned Erikyle as if reminiscing. He had met Kang-woo about 300 years ago when Kang-woo defeated a prince of hell for the first time. We went through so much together. Erikyle had fought together and shared victories with Kang-woo. They emerged victorious against the forces of the 7 princes of hell and earned the right to rule hell. It is truly an honor to see you again, my king. Erikyle bowed courteously. Kang-woo lowered his head with deeply sunken eyes. He carefully laid the dead Doomguard on the ground. He closed Doomguard's eyes and replied, yeah, it's good to see you too, though I never expected our reunion to happen by you stabbing me in the back like this. Ha ha ha. I didn't expect things to end up this way either. Erikyle tapped on the ground with his saw blade hands. Erikyle, you bastard. Balrog glared at Erikyle fiercely, clenching his fists as if he were about to charge at him at any second. Wait, Kang-woo stopped Balrog and slowly walked forward. He stared at Erikyle and asked, let me ask you something. You have but to ask. Erikyle lowered his head with a smile. Why? Kang-woo asked in a deep tone. Ha ha ha, Erikyle burst into laughter and stared at Doomguard on the ground. If you are referring to why I killed Doomguard, he clicked his tongue. It is because he continued to refuse my proposal. Proposal? Yes, Erikyle answered as he spread his arms widely. My proposal to betray you and join Bale's army. No, I misspoke. Betray isn't the right word. You can't call it a betrayal. Erikyle shook his head and cackled. Isn't it only natural for demons to pursue their desires? Desire was no different from instinct for demons. It allowed them to be demons and for them to stay as one. Desire was everything to them. Arakyyyyyyyyyyyle. Boom. The surroundings shook as Balrog unleashed a roar. He clenched his fists and charged at Erikyle. Clank, clank, black armor began to wrap around him. TSSSSSSSS. White steam poured out from the armor's gaps and Balrog flapped his wings from within the steam. Erikyle raised his saw blade hand. Clang. Balrog's fist and Erikyle's saw blade clashed, causing a thunderous sound of clashing metal to echo. Hoop, Balrog inhaled and added more strength to his fist. His red muscles swelled as if they would explode. His eyes were filled with rage as he exclaimed, you dare. Betray our king? To Balrog, betraying Kang-woo was a capital crime regardless of the reason. Boom, crash, Balrog swung his fists madly, each swing making sounds similar to cannon fire. Have you forgotten? Boom, 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 boom. Erikyle blocked every single one of Balrog's punches. The gaps between the saw blades widened little by little with every clash. Everything our king has done for us, crash. Balrog interlocked his fingers and swung down his fists with his entire weight behind them. Clang, Erikyle's saw blade bent sideways. Balrog pulled his right leg back and lowered his stance. He twisted his torso and raised his right fist high. Sky, he used the torque to swing his fist down. Breaker, Balrog used one of the few techniques that he learned from Kang-woo. A punch that could obliterate even a giant mountain smashed into Erikyle. However, haha, you have changed quite a bit as well in the time I haven't seen you, Lord Balrog. Was a whip not your weapon of choice? Erikyle had taken Balrog's punch straight on his chest. Balrog's fist was easily blown back by the invisible power around Erikyle. This is, Balrog frowned aggressively. He knew what the power wrapped around Erikyle was all too well. But in the end, Erikyle smirked. You are but a pathetic fly without deific essence. He cackled as he swung down his saw blade hand. The demonic energy wrapped around the blade was infused with divinity. Slash. Gah! Balrog jumped back in shock, but the saw blade easily slashed through his black armor and formed a large wound across his chest. Black blood poured out like a fountain. Balrog tumbled across the ground as he clenched his chest. Kurg! Balrog bit his lip aggressively. Deific essence again. He clenched his fist wrapped with the black armor. Simply having deific essence created an insurmountable gap between those with and without it. Balrog gritted his teeth. Come to think of it, you haven't awakened deific essence yet, have you? Kim Si-hun's words from when they were heading to the frozen temple popped into his head. Balrog grimaced fiercely. He knew that Si-hun's words had not been to mock him, but shit, bang. Balrog smashed his fists into the ground. Huff, huff. More black blood poured out as the wound on his chest widened. Balrog looked down at his blood. There is a way. His new ability, Overlord Armor, grew stronger using his blood as the energy source. In other words, he got stronger the more he bled. If that's the case, there was a way to fight on par against those with deific essence, albeit temporarily, but hesitation filled Balrog's eyes. He clenched his fists anxiously. "What's wrong?" Erekal asked mockingly. "Did you realize that you can't do anything just by shouting pledges of loyalty?" Balrog's expression hardened. Erekal, drunk on power, continued elatedly, "Loyalty won't get you anywhere. You can't get anything with just conviction and willpower." He raised his saw blade hands high. "Only desire, the instinct of demons as well as what allows us to exist, completes us." Erekal laughed as his shoulders moved up and down. The deific essence which he acquired after making a deal with Ammon fired him up. He turned to Kang-woo and asked, "Wouldn't you agree, my king?" Kang-woo stared at Erekal in silence. The deific essence he could feel from Erekal was as powerful as that of Tai Wuji and Gaia. "Haya," he sighed deeply. There's no way Erekal awakened deific essence on his own. Hence, there was only one answer. He became an incarnation. Kang-woo wasn't sure whether Erekal became Baal's incarnation or an incarnation of one of the outer gods cooperating with Baal, but he was sure that Erekal had gained power incomparable to his past self. "So, this was your plan, Baal." Uniting the ninth hell was meaningless by itself. Since the gods were freed from the restrictions of the Law of Titans and could now manifest into the physical realm, the demons also needed deific essence to fight evenly against them. "I knew he would prepare countermeasures against deific essence, but I never thought one of them would be to grant deific essence to one of my former subordinates." "Ha," Kang-woo chuckled, covering his face with one hand. "For fuck's sake, you sure say some badass shit. Only desire completes demons, how badass is that? To put it simply, you betrayed me because Baal's ass you were sucking was so sweet, right?" Erekal had packaged the reason for his betrayal to be something grandiose, but it was overly simple when unraveled. Your choice of words is as vulgar as always." Erekal glared at Kang-woo. "Of course it is, you know how I am," said Kang-woo. Erekal replied quietly, "I sure do. You were always like this." The memories he had with Kang-woo flashed before his eyes. He recalled the wretched war and the battles they fought together to bring the 7 princes of hell down. They were truly wonderful memories. Erekal trembled with a bright smile, but that was the end of it. His master had changed once they conquered the 9th hell. "You no longer desired," Erekal stated as he looked at Kang-woo in disgust. "Yes, once the Demon King devoured every prince of hell, he chose to lay down everything and go back to Earth. In that moment, you lost your reason to exist as a demon. Demons were born to desire. It allowed them to exist and was what completed them. However, the Demon King, who had the entire 9th hell in his hands, gave up on desiring. The Demon King, filled with enough madness to devour everything in the world, whom Erekal remembered, ceased to exist after the battle against Baal. Demons need a new king. They did not need a king with no desire. They needed a new king filled with unending desire. Yes, Lord Baal, the demon made purely of desire, is fit to be our new king." Erekal smiled widely and raised his saw blade hand. "Demon King," he said to Kang-woo as if making a declaration, "your era is over." Chapter 501, Advent, Part 2, Crack, crack. The space behind Erekal began to split once he finished his sentence. The black rift grew bigger and out came an army of demons that numbered easily over 10,000. It was the Despair Corps led by Erekal. "That's..." Kang-woo narrowed his eyes as he stared at the Despair Corps that had marched out of the rift. He couldn't feel deific essence from them like he could from Erekal, but something about them felt off. He soon discovered the source of the oddity. What do they have around their necks? Every demon of the Despair Corps was wearing something around their neck. It was neither a necklace nor a pendant. A pouch. It was about half the size of a human palm. Based on how puffy it looked, Kang-woo was sure that something was inside it. Such a thing did not exist back in his Demon King days there. Probably not charms. There was no way demons would wear charms for good luck as a group. "You must be curious about what these are." Erekal smiled as he noticed Kang-woo's gaze. He gestured with his chin toward the Despair Corps that had surrounded Kang-woo, Lilith, and Balrog. He then took off a pouch from one of the demon's soldiers. "Show the Demon King," said Erekal with a smile. Erekal's subordinate brought the unknown pouch toward their mouth and slowly tilted it. A black powder flowed out from the pouch's opening and entered their mouth. "Kurg," the subordinate grunted in pain. "Crunch, crunch." The sounds of bones breaking echoed. "Ga-ya-ya." Erekal's subordinate writhed in pain as grotesque blood vessels resembling tree roots bulged throughout their body. Womb. Unsettling demonic energy seeped out of the subordinate like haze. It was clearly different from regular demonic energy. "Ha," Kang-woo laughed. He could tell what the source of that demonic energy was even without using the authority of insight. He had experienced it once before. The power of deicide. The power of deicide or god-killing powers was fundamentally different from deific essence. If deific essence was influenced by one's status as a god, then the power of deicide existed only to kill those with deific essence. To add more detail, the power of deicide was specialized for penetrating deific essence and annihilating it. Kang-woo had made a weapon containing that power in the past. I made Yeonju chains using Behemoth's horn. Cha Yeonju had been able to injure Kang-woo even before she became his incarnation, as long as she used the chains infused with the power of deicide. Since they can't all be made an incarnation, they were given something that temporarily grants them the power of deicide. If that was the case, it was not difficult to guess what that powder was. Poor Behemoth. Are his horns even intact at this point? No, if all these demons were provided with the powder, I guess they were repeatedly regrown and cut off. The pouch on each demon of the Despair Core likely contained powder made of Behemoth's horn. Ammon, you thorough son of a bitch. Kang-woo had already thought of the possibility that Ammon was controlling Behemoth, since Behemoth looked as if he were being controlled by someone back when Kang-woo and his party saw him in the satellite world. Ammon's use of the power of deicide infused in Behemoth's horns had been within Kang-woo's expectations, but I never thought he would make performance-enhancing drugs with them instead of weapons. Kang-woo did not even know that ingesting the horn would temporarily grant the power of deicide. No, not just that. It was obvious just from seeing Arakal's subordinate that they had not only been granted the power of deicide, but their demonic energy and physical parameters had also risen exponentially as well. Although it was only temporary, it far surpassed Han Xiala's buffs. But naturally, such an abnormal boost in power would come at a cost. You'd become brain-dead if you're lucky or just die if you aren't. Ingesting powder made of Behemoth's horn was no different than becoming a suicide bomber. Do you have any idea what would happen if you ate that? Asked Kang-woo with deeply sunken eyes. Although they were Arakal's subordinates, all members of the Despair Corps were Kang-woo's subordinates as well. Well, not anymore. Kang-woo even recognized a few familiar faces among the soldiers surrounding him, Lilith and Balrog. There was no way he wouldn't feel for them. Ha ha ha, of course we do, Arakal burst into laughter. He then exhaled ecstatically and spread his arms wide. But even if we have to tear ourselves apart and set our souls ablaze. He raised his head high and said in madness, we have to move forward, don't we? Arakal cackled as his shoulders moved up and down. You used to say this all the time, forward, 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 he shouted in madness as he reminisced. Climb higher to a height no one has ever reached, KFFP kahahaha, Arakal trembled in ecstasy. Yes. You're absolutely right, Demon King, if demons live by their desire and are completed by them. He noisily clashed his saw-blade hands together. Shouldn't we pursue power no matter what the cost? Are you not the one who put that to practice the most, Demon King? Kang-woo remained silent as he recalled his days in hell. No, he did not even have to think that far back. Even now, as he was talking to Arakyle, he was constantly on a tightrope, trying to maintain control over the demonic sea at all times. Compared to the risks Kang-woo bore, the risk that came with ingesting powder made from Behemoth's horn was nothing. Arakyle twirled as if dancing. This reminds me of when I first met you. He smiled and continued, you did not stop eating Mammon alive even as you jumped into his flames. I still remember your madness as you devoured Mammon's entire army of 100,000 demons. Arakal looked in a daze as if he were high. It was truly breathtaking. No one was as extraordinary as you. The Demon King back then was the paragon of desire. Even if his limbs were severed, intestines exploded out of his stomach, or half of his head was torn off, he desired only to devour his foes to climb even higher. His only desire was to grow stronger. All predators were reduced to mere prey before the Demon King. No other demon was a better fit for the title than Kang-woo. But Arakyle's eyes turned cold. I do not see even a trace of your former self in you. He glared at Kang-woo and continued, Ammon told me that you've sided with humans and are protecting the world. His eyes were filled with disgust. Well, the fact that you sided with humans doesn't bother me, but the fact that you are protecting others is unforgivable. The Demon King should never protect others. The King of Demons was meant to plunder, extort, and usurp. Since you have lost your desire, Arakal's eyes glinted fiercely, I can no longer call you my king. Kang-woo slowly looked around in silence. His former subordinates, whom he had done his best to protect, were brandishing their weapons and exuding hostility at him. Ha, what are you standing there all blankly for? Arakal laughed. I don't blame you. After all, I doubt even you are a match for an army of 10,000, all with the power of deicide. It might have been different if the Demon King they were facing was the one from the past, but a Demon King with no desire would break down due to the despairing difference in strength between them. That is why you are no longer our king. Arakal cackled. He then declared, your era is over, you have been forgotten. Their king was now a relic of the past, it was time for demons to accept a new king. That aside, step. Arakal strolled right up to Kang-woo. Kang-woo slowly turned his head again to stare coldly at Erekyle. What a moron Doomguard is, mentioned Erekyle mockingly, slice. He swung down his saw-blade hand and beheaded Doomguard, whom Kang-woo laid on the ground. He then playfully bounced Doomguard's head on the flat part of his saw-blade hand. He frantically ran away so that he could reach you, even ingesting Behemoth's horn powder in the process. A demon prioritizing loyalty over their desire, don't you think it's strange? Own, we are completed only by desire. Did you say something? Put him down. Kang-woo moved his arm. He grabbed Doomguard's head, which Erekyle was bouncing on his saw-blade hand before Erekyle could even react. Kurg, Erekyle stepped back in surprise. He had acquired power incomparable to his past self after becoming Baal's incarnation, but he was unable to follow the Demon King's movements just now. Kang-woo embraced Doomguard's head and then slowly placed it on the ground. He reattached the head to where it had been cut off by Erekyle's saw blade. Heh, hee. Doomguard's laughter popped into Kang-woo's head. He was an adorable son of a bitch. In terms of personality, he was similar to Kim Tae-hyun, excluding the fact that he was aggressive to anyone but Kang-woo. Hee, I'm happy that I managed to see you again. Cough. Before my last breath, my king, fucking idiot, you could have lived if you didn't run to me. I have something that I need to tell you, no matter what. It was fucking useless information. I would have figured something out even if you didn't tell me. I would have come to see you sooner. No fucking shit. You should have come to me as soon as you noticed Ammon doing weird shit instead of confronting him. Kang-woo stood up after placing Doomguard's head back on the ground. He then called Erekyle. Yes, Erekyle gestured to his soldiers to get ready to ingest the powder. I asked you why in the beginning, didn't I? Kang-woo slowly raised his head. I wasn't asking why you killed Doomguard. His scleras dyed black. What I was asking was, his black irises dyed yellow, why you forgot about me. His black pupils stretched horizontally. Betrayal, I can understand that. Let's be honest, I completely understand why you would lick Baal's feet if he would give you deific essence for free. But Erekyle, oh Erekyle, I feel you, but you shouldn't have forgotten about me. You guys know me. You all fought alongside me and emerged victorious together. No matter how drunk you were on power, no matter how much time passed, no matter how foggy your memories have become, split. Wings made of black mucus sprouted, and from the mucus appeared mouths filled with sharp teeth, and you should have at least remembered me. It marked the advent of the demon of demons, the predator of predators, the hell of hells. The Demon King, Chapter 502, Advent, Part 3, clack, clack, clack. The grotesque wings made of fluid flapped as the hundreds of teeth embedded in them noisily clacked. The horizontal goat eyes gazed at Erekyle. Uerg, Erekyle grunted. Chills ran down his spine. He was getting cold sweats and having trouble breathing. He felt as if he were drowning in a boundless black sea. Erekyle bit his lip and commanded, all forces prepare for battle. The soldiers of the Despair Corps grabbed their pouches. Erekyle pointed his saw blade at the Demon King. It is impossible for us to lose. He used to be one of the Demon King's closest allies along with Balrog and Lilith. He knew exactly how strong the Demon King was as well as how to defeat him. I just need to make him open a door and then run away. The Demon King's greatest strength as well as his greatest weakness was the power of the demonic sea. It was a boundless sea of demonic energy that not even the Demon King could perfectly control. Once he opened the doors of the 10,000 Demon Core, which acted as a seal for the sea of demonic energy, he would lose consciousness and be driven out of control. They just needed to confirm that the Demon King opened a door, and then they would run away without looking back after enough time. The Demon King would become so weak that even a child could kill him. It was a surefire strategy. The Despair Corps, numbering 10,000 plus Erekyle with deific essence, would easily be able to force the Demon King to open a door. And they had already prepared an escape route once he did. Erekyle was sure that this strategy was only possible because he knew about the Demon King's weakness. But why? Why isn't this uneasiness disappearing? Erekyle fiercely shook his head to erase his anxiety. Just then the Demon King mentioned, I have one more thing to ask. Erekyle flinched and raised his head. He got chills as the Demon King's golden yellow eyes stared at him. You planned this on your own, didn't you? So what if I did? Erekyle asked back in irritation, biting his lip anxiously. Yeah, the Demon King smiled brightly as if he had expected it. He then looked around the Despair Corps and continued, if Baal or Ammon had planned this, they wouldn't have brought only this many. Erekyle's eyebrows flinched. The Demon King was undermining the Despair Corps and him. I am no longer the commander of despair you once knew. Erekyle had been born anew after receiving Baal's blessing. And neither are the members of the Despair Corps who stand before you. Battles in the Ninth Hell did not stop even after the Demon King left. Demons instinctively desired power and conflict. Battles were no different from their purpose in life. The Despair Corps had gone through countless battles and grew stronger in the Demon King's absence. Not only that, but they possessed Behemoth's horn powder, which granted the power of deicide. Erekal muttered, "You will have no choice but to open a door." "Is that so?" The Demon King smiled. "You've changed, huh? I guess I would have to agree with that." He laughed as his shoulders moved up and down. He tilted his head and continued, "But why are you assuming that I haven't changed in that time either?" Erekal frowned due to Kang-woo's mocking tone. There was certainly a possibility that the Demon King had also grown stronger than in his days in hell, just like Erekal. However, Erekal said firmly, "That is enough of your nonsense. A demon with no desire cannot grow stronger." The Demon King had abandoned his desire and returned to Earth. He stopped plundering, extorting, and usurping, only to protect humanity. There was no way that a demon who abandoned his desire, the fundamental core of a demon, could grow. Ha 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 ha, the Demon King laughed as he clenched his stomach. The wings made of black mucus flapped fiercely. "Yeah, you're right. A demon with no desire could not grow stronger. Desire was what allowed demons to move forward and the key for them to reach perfection." "But you want to know something?" Erekal had misunderstood something. The Demon King spread his wings of black mucus widely. "Desire undeniably made demons what they were. However, I've never once stopped desiring." The Demon King couldn't lose his desire. Even when he casually carried on conversations. Even when he loved, got mad, sad, had fun, laughed, made a stir, touched, caressed, embraced, kissed the woman he loved, fooled around like a jester, and enjoyed a picnic with those precious to him, he was so hungry that I feel like I'm starving to death. Split. The corners of the Demon King's mouth ripped to his earlobes as he smiled, exposing red flesh and his gums underneath. More white teeth sprouted from them. Erekal's expression turned pale. Demonic energy that he had never felt from the Demon King in the past exerted immense pressure on him. "What the?" he muttered as his eyes shook. He bit his lip and raised his saw-blade hand. "Eat Behemoth's horn." The members of the Despair Corps poured the powder in the pouch into their mouths as Erekal commanded. "Graya!" The entire Despair Corps roared ferociously. Hideous blood vessels resembling tree roots bulged all over their bodies and poured out from them demonic energy infused with the power of deicide. "Despair Core," said Erekal as he raised his saw blade high. He then swung it down and commanded, "Kill the king." Rumble, the full force of the Despair Core charged at the Demon King as everything around them shook. "Ha!" The Demon King exhaled heatedly. Unbearable hunger took control of him once he unleashed the desire he had been suppressing. He felt as if he were dying of thirst. "Die!" A demon at the vanguard swung a stupidly large greatsword infused with the power of deicide at the Demon King's head. Authority of Invulnerability. The Demon King leaned back and used an authority. One of the hundreds of authorities lying dormant inside the demonic sea was activated. Clang. The greatsword infused with the power of deicide bounced away. The demon was about to step back once his attack was blocked, but the Demon King grabbed his arm before he could do so. A mouth filled with sharp teeth opened wide before the demon could say anything. Crunch, the demon's flesh was torn and his bones were crushed. Black blood poured out like a fountain. "Keep pressuring him," shouted Erekal fiercely. The Despair Corps instantly surrounded the Demon King and attacked him from all directions. The Demon King smiled and raised his right hand. The black ring on his middle finger turned into a sharp wedge. He grabbed it and stuck it to the ground. Swoosh, black blades shot up from the ground around the wedge, piercing demons from the leg, thigh, buttock, and up to the mouth. Hundreds of the Despair Corps were killed in just one attack. Crunch, crunch. Mouths appeared from the blades that pierced through the demons and ate away at them. The sounds of devouring flesh echoed throughout the battlefield. Raya! Although hundreds were killed in one attack, the Despair Corps was made up of 10,000 demons. Demons as many as the ones that just died charged at the Demon King without rest. Stab, crush. The weapons infused with the power of deicide pierced the Demon King one by one. The Demon King, who looked like a hedgehog with weapons stabbed into him, staggered. "Now," shouted Erekal, pressing his soldiers as he waved his saw blade in the air. "We just have to push him a little further." The Demon King would open a door once he was pushed to the absolute limit. Hess! However, the Demon King, who had been staggering as if he had used up all his strength, stood tall with his tongue out. Clatter. The weapons piercing him fell to the ground. Sunset, the Demon King chanted before the Despair Corps had a chance to pull themselves together. The sky turned black as black demonic energy covered it. Flames resembling a black sun poured down on them like rainfall. Sizzle, Gaya, Kurg Arg, the smell of burning flesh and ice-stinging smoke filled the air. The black blood pooled on the ground, boiled from the heat. Only one demon stood tall under the black sky. This is, the eyes of the Despair Corps demons filled with terror. "What's wrong, guys?" asked the Demon King quietly. He licked his lips temperamentally as if his hunger had been nowhere near satiated. "I taught you that running away in fear will only give your enemies the chance to fight back." The Demon King enticed his prey with sweet whispers. "Right, guys. You remember what I said, right? Now is the chance. You will never be able to kill me if not now, he said to the terrified demons with a smile. Urg, ah! The despair core roared and charged at the demon king, who accepted them with open arms. Pull yourselves together, damn idiots, shouted Erekal hurriedly. We are the ones with the upper hand. Around 2,000 died from the earlier attack. It was a massive blow considering all of them had ingested Behemoth's horn powder, but several times as many soldiers were still alive. Haya! Erekal charged at the demon king as he clashed his saw blades together, his neatly swept back hair fluttering in the wind. Plunder, he chanted. Clang, sparks flew as he clashed his saw blades together. He flew at extraordinary speeds to stab the demon king's heart. I need to make him open a door as soon as possible. Only then would his plan begin to take off. Erekal bit his lip and imbued the deific essence he received from Baal into his saw blade. The blade reached the demon king's chest in an instant. I did it, Erekal's eyes shone. The demon king crouched and stuck his head toward Erekal's saw blade. Crush, the blade sliced open the demon king's head and tore apart his brain. What the? The demon king was not immortal when the doors were not open. He would die just like any demon if his head was destroyed. Just like that, Erekal looked down at his hand that sliced the demon king's head. The demon king, whom Erekal thought was dead should have died from that attack, grabbed his saw blade hand. Why aren't you d? Crack, the demon king tore off one of Ereki's arms. Erg, Erekal screamed, crunch, crunch. The demon king's head, which was split into two, began to regenerate instantly. Erekal stepped back in shock. How else? You know I can't die when a door is open. What? Erekal stared at the demon king in shock. Then does that mean his sanity is perfectly fine? Even with a door open? Damn it, Erekal quickly turned back. They were no match for the demon king if he was able to maintain his sanity with the doors open. Kurg, Erekal swung his remaining saw blade hand in the air. The blade shone and activated a magic circle that had been prepared in advance. Split, the same black rift that the despair core arrived from opened in midair. Erekal jumped into the rift. He can stay sane with the doors open. Erekal did not even imagine such a possibility. He had expected the demon king to acquire deific essence but never to overcome the one flaw of opening the doors. It was understandable since the demon king's biggest weakness, which he was unable to overcome for hundreds of years, had been solved in just a few years. Shit. Erekal bit his lip as he looked back at the closing rift. Losing the despair core was a massive loss, but it couldn't be helped. Now that it has come to this, I will have to take some time to come up with. No. The demon king stuck his arm through the closing rift. What the Erekal expressed in shock. Rumble, the demon king wrenched open the rift. Space was distorted, causing the surroundings to shake. You have no more time. Split. Erekal saw sharp teeth between the borders of the rift. Erekal groaned as chills ran down his spine. Erekal recalled what he had forgotten, what he had tried to forget. He had thought it was a thing of the past. He recalled what kind of being the demon king was. Chapter 503, the subordinate isn't the one who protects the king whoosh. White ash scattered in the wind from the rooftop between Kang-woo's fingers, Doomguard's final moments replayed in his head. Kang-woo looked down at the white ash falling like snowflakes. Seoul was empty as if it had become a ghost town because the residents had evacuated to Erner thanks to the guidance of the Church of Splendor and Guardians. Kang-woo sighed deeply as he looked down at the deserted streets. Fucking hell, I must look pathetic right now. Kang-woo brushed off the white ash on his hands and stood up. Are you finished? Someone asked. Kang-woo turned around to see Lilith smiling at him. Did you see? Ho, yes, you used to do this from time to time back in the ninth hell, NGH. Kang-woo scratched his head and averted his gaze from her. Lilith approached him with a faint smile. Don't take it to heart too much, my king. She carefully embraced Kang-woo's arm and leaned her head on his shoulder. Doomguard. Went with a smile. Kang-woo remained silent, his mind in jumbles. Ho, Lilith giggled and lightly caressed Kang-woo's cheek. You're the same as always. She had seen the melancholy Kang-woo every time he lost his subordinates in the war. Shut up, Kang-woo said bluntly and shook Lilith away. Lilith giggled again with his mouth covered. That aside, did you manage to secure some of Behemoth's horn powder? I had the muscle pig secure some. There didn't seem to be much of it left, according to him. Really? Said Kang-woo as he stretched out his hand. Lilith handed him a pouch filled with black powder. A powder that grants the power of deicide. It was bound to be a pain in the ass. Kang-woo knew that Baal's army would be a force to be reckoned with, but he never expected them to use such an overpowered performance-enhancing drug. We should strengthen our defense line. Whoosh. Kang-woo set the pouch on fire. The flames of veracity devoured the black powder without a trace. He looked down at the powder, which had reduced to ash, and clicked his tongue. Should I have tried using it for something else? The thought lingered for a moment, but Kang-woo then shook his head. It's too dangerous. It granted immense power to anyone who ingested the powder, but it was useless to him at the very least. And it's not like I can let anyone take this. Burning it to ash for peace of mind was a much better choice. Kang-woo brushed the ash off of his hands and asked, "What about the angels? They're standing by in the Hall of Protection after getting the details from Layla. I should visit them too." "You should. They should have a lot of questions about Doomguard." "I'm sure they would," Kang-woo nodded with a sorrowful expression. Angels had been the ones on Doomguard's tail initially. "Lilith, focus on the magic circle that will form the defense line. I'll deal with Michael." Michael did not know that Lilith was a demon yet. Although Kang-woo could now make it so that it was nearly impossible for anyone to figure out that his demon retainers were demons, it was better not to let Lilith and Michael keep making contact. "As you command," Lilith bowed courteously. Kang-woo walked past her and climbed down the apartment roof. He tilted his head after seeing a familiar face as he went down the stairs. "Balrog, yes, what's wrong? You hate being in your human form." "I have no choice if I want to come here," mentioned Balrog as he slightly looked up at the roof of the hallway. His head and shoulders would destroy the roof if he were in his true form. "Then you should have just gotten some rest at home. Is it urgent?" Balrog stared at Kang-woo in silence. Kang-woo's eyes narrowed. "I've seen that expression before." Balrog's eyes were similar to when he was staring at Kim Si-hun before heading to the frozen temple. "Oh," Kang-woo expressed. He frowned as he stared at Balrog. He more or less knew what those eyes meant. "My king," Balrog got on one knee and lowered his head. "Please if you're going to ask me to make you my incarnation, the answer is no." Balrog's eyes shook. He bit his lip after Kang-woo had hit the mark. "Why?" Kang-woo answered without a shadow of a doubt. "Because you're more than capable of awakening deific essence on your own." Balrog's expression turned gloomy. "There is not much time remaining." There was less than a month until the final battle. No one knew whether or not Balrog would be able to awaken deific essence at that time. "I know," Kang-woo nodded. "You might not be able to by then. No, you never might even. However, I won't erase that possibility by making you my incarnation. The moment you acquire deific essence without any breakthroughs by becoming my incarnation, your growth will stop there. You will stay stagnant for the rest of your life." "Even so, I need deific essence," Balrog said as he clenched his fists aggressively. Kang-woo could feel Balrog's suppressed vortex of emotions in his voice. Balrog lowered his head in shame and remarked, "To protect you, I need that power." He recalled his battle against Erekyle, the memory of getting one-sidedly beaten by a traitor who dared to betray his king. The loss had been entirely dependent on deific essence. There was nothing one could do against an opponent who could not even be attacked. "To protect my king? No, even just to become a meat shield so that I can block at least one attack that might endanger my king. I need deific essence." He was in desperate need of it. Kang-woo remained silent. Considering Balrog's personality, Kang-woo could tell how much Balrog thought about asking him for this. He had abandoned all possibility of growth and begged for power with his head shamefully lowered. It was unacceptable for someone like Balrog, but he had done so despite that, for Kang-woo. "Balrog?" Kang-woo smiled faintly and let Balrog know of an undeniable fact that would not change no matter how desperately he desired it. "You can't protect me even if you become my incarnation." Balrog's expression froze. "Yes, you'll easily acquire deific essence if you become my incarnation, but did you forget what happened to Erekyle? Let's just say that you become as strong as Erekyle after acquiring deific essence." Kang-woo continued coldly, "Do you seriously think that you can protect me with that power?" Balrog remained silent. He had witnessed his king's battle against Erekyle. No, it could not even be considered a battle. Erekyle and the Despair Corps were helpless against the Demon King's power. Would Balrog be able to keep his king safe just by becoming as strong as Erekyle? Balrog slurred. He knew better than anyone that it was not even worth thinking about. The power he held was beyond pathetic to even think about protecting his king. There's a limit to how much power an incarnation can have. An incarnation could only be shared power from the entity who allowed their incarnation to borrow their deific essence. "Are you sure you want to have that poison which squanders your endless possibilities?" Balrog's shoulders subtly trembled as he clenched his fists. Kang-woo's words felt like blades gouging out his heart. Kang-woo smirked as he stared at Balrog, lowering his head gloomily. "I thought your brain was also made of muscle, but I guess not," he remarked as he patted Balrog's shoulder teasingly. "My king, just do as you've always done, man. Since when have you been the worrying type?" "Well, I know you can't help but feel that way when you look at Si-hun." Si-hun had awakened deific essence on his own. The power that resulted from that fact was of another level compared to the one acquired from becoming an incarnation. The difference was so massive that if Kang-woo had to choose someone to whom he would entrust his back during his battle against Baal, he would choose Si-hun without hesitation. "I'm sure it's hard to accept for Balrog." Balrog was undoubtedly the one who had been by Kang-woo's side the longest. It was about 1,000 years. Although Kang-woo considered Doomguard and Lilith to be his precious subordinates, Balrog held a special place in his heart. We've known each other for so long. It was not just a matter of time. When they met, Kang-woo was a weakling who had only just come down from the 8th hell to the 9th hell, and Balrog had been reduced to a lifeless loser after losing his former master. A bond formed from sharing hardships had no place not being special, and I'm sure Balrog feels the same way. Balrog's excessive loyalty did not stem from just his personality. It was because they had overcome their wretched past selves together that Balrog was so loyal to Kang-woo. It was then that Kim Si-hun, someone stronger and more talented than him, appeared to swear loyalty to Kang-woo. He probably thinks his place by my side is vanishing. Considering what Balrog was like, he would be suppressing those emotions deep down in his heart. Sigh, you stupid muscle pig. Kang-woo lightly conked Balrog's lowered head. Stop filming a goddamn melodrama by yourselves, for fuck's sake. I'm getting scared from the thought that you two might fight over me with your swords. Pardon, I don't use a sword. No, I'm not talking about that sword, you know. The one down. Kang-woo aggressively frowned the more he continued. He yelled, I feel like a fucking dickhead just imagining it. No, I'm not referring to an actual dick when I say that. Fuck. You're making me feel even weirder, Kang-woo twisted as he pulled on his hair. Balrog looked up at him in confusion. Ahem, Kang-woo coughed and patted Balrog's shoulder. Anyway, you don't need to bother so much with protecting me. But, in the first place, Kang-woo turned away from Balrog and continued, the subordinate isn't the one who protects the king. He then turned only his head to Balrog and mentioned, the king is the one who protects his subordinates. Balrog's eyes widened. Kang-woo smiled and walked away. Whatever the case, I'm more than happy as long as you do whatever's in your power. My king, Balrog muttered as he watched Kang-woo getting further away. A heavy silence fell in the hallway. The king is the one who protects his subordinates, huh? Balrog recited Kang-woo's words. But my king. His voice was filled with sorrow. He subtly trembled and bit his lip, black blood flowing from the puncture wound. Balrog fell to his knees on the spot. You have protected me far too many times. A sense of powerlessness weighed Balrog down and burned him alive. He took something out from his pocket. It was a pouch the size of a human fist. Balrog opened the pouch and saw a fistful of black powder inside. Balrog closed his eyes, closed the pouch and put it back into his pocket. Chapter 504, Day of the Apocalypse, Part 1. A month passed by in a flash. During that time, Kang-woo prepared a barrier and a defense line that would span the entirety of Seoul and selected the members who would be present for the battle against Baal and his army. Of course, he couldn't do all of that by himself. Layla, Kim Si-hun, Lilith, Cha Yeonju, and others helped an enormous amount. It's finally tomorrow. Kang-woo looked up at the sky. Time passed by in a flash ever since he arrived on Earth, but it had been several times faster this past month. They're probably in the middle of the final briefing. Kang-woo would have been required to participate, but Layla had allowed him to take a break after the insane schedule he had to suffer this past month. Well, the final briefing isn't as crucial as it sounds. Although the war would decide the fate of this world, it was fundamentally different from a regular war. Things like intricate strategies, impregnable defenses, and impeccable commanding of forces would not decide the outcome of this war. It all depends on who between me and Baal survives. Hence, Layla was doing her best to brief the members of Guardians not on how to win the war, but on how to minimize casualties. Even if they managed to defeat Baal's army, it would be pointless if Kang-woo didn't defeat Baal. And it would be just as pointless if Earth were to fall to Baal's army after Kang-woo defeated Baal. The battle needs to end as quickly as possible. There was no better option than that. Kang-woo looked down at his hands. He had done everything he could, but there was one thing he was disappointed about. I didn't manage to get Transcendent Trank Deific Essence. Kang-woo clicked his tongue and narrowed his eyes. He had been most focused on getting it during the month of preparation, but he failed no matter how many times he tried. I thought I'd be able to get it after devouring Arakyle and the entire Despair Core. The system window did not even appear as if to spit on his hopes. I can't even get in touch with the system these days. It could be because the system was putting all of its power into keeping matters of Earth out of Baal's eyes, or it might be a sign that the Law of Titans was almost completely in Baal's control. Kang-woo could not get in touch with the artificial intelligence that had introduced itself to him as Eve. Tusk, I guess it can't be helped. The day of the apocalypse was tomorrow. There was no time to sulk because he had been unable to acquire Transcendent Trank Deific Essence. I might as well go through some final checks too. Kang-woo stood up as he circulated the enormous amount of demonic energy flowing out from his heart. Are you here, Kang-woo? The rooftop door opened and appeared from it Han Seala. Kang-woo turned around happily and asked, What is it, darling? The briefing just ended, so I came to get you. Get me. For what? Layla suggested everyone have a meal together since this is our final night, Seala remarked in a slightly heavy tone. The word final seemed to have impacted her quite greatly. Really? Sounds good, Siala thought. After tomorrow, no one knows how things will turn out. Herg, Siala groaned and bit her lip anxiously. Chills ran down her back from the thought that she might never see Kang-woo again. She clenched her trembling fists and the light disappeared in her eyes. She approached Kang-woo and caressed his arm. Darling, why are you touching my arm out of the blue? Oh. It's nothing. Your eyes are a bit too scary for that to be the case. Siala lightly clenched Kang-woo's arm and continued, to be honest, I want to forcibly take you with me and run away somewhere. With my limbs intact. Pardon? No, forget I said anything, said Kang-woo and smirked. He patted Siala's head and continued, you know that won't change anything. Even if Kang-woo were to run away, Bale would chase him to the very end. A fight against Bale was no longer a choice. The cycle would end only if one of them died. Yes, I know, but don't worry, darling, Kang-woo kissed Siala. I'm gonna win. Siala's expression brightened. She smiled faintly and nodded in silence. Right, we shouldn't keep Layla waiting. Has everyone else gathered? Kang-woo asked. Yes, oh, we're not meeting in the Hall of Protection. It's going to be at Balrog's house. Balrog's house. Why there? Because the angels are at the Hall of Protection. Oh, Kang-woo nodded after understanding. Then let's fly there. He reached out his hand toward Siala, who grabbed it with an embarrassed expression. Kang-woo reached under her knees and lifted her. Of course, Siala didn't need to be carried since she had Seraph's wings, but take a damn hint. Kang-woo jumped up from the apartment rooftop and looked down at the city view under them. The streets of Seoul were bustling with people. I can't believe that's all fake, Siala mentioned as she looked down at the streets filled with neon signs and people. We need to do at least this much to fool Bale. Anyone would be suspicious if the place they were about to invade had become a ghost town. To prevent something like that from happening, he filled the deserted streets with the key of the demonic sea. Slushy sure went all out. The key of the demonic sea was able to transform into anything. Its arsenal was not restricted to weapons. Kang-woo had made Slushy create dolls the shape of humans and spread them throughout Seoul. Siala looked up at Kang-woo in silence. He was mentioning it as if it had been a piece of cake, but she knew how hard he had worked to create those dolls. It goes to show just how important this war is. Siala closed her eyes as she added more strength to her arms around Kang-woo's neck. An inexplicable uneasiness surged within her despite being able to feel his warmth from so close. A boy was standing on top of a hill made of red sand below a burning red sky. He looked down with blank eyes at the enormous number of demons standing at attention in front of him. He asked, Is everything ready? Yes, Ammon replied as he bowed. He lightly pounded his staff on the ground and continued, Erekal being killed by the Demon King after acting on his own was outside of my expectations. Ammon frowned in displeasure. He had accepted Erekal into their ranks because he said that he would betray the Demon King and join them, but he had caused a mess after acting without orders. But it has not affected the plan. Their army boasted immense power even without Erekal and the Despair Corps. Their goal was to end not just Earth but all worlds of the Triad and to put them under the rule of the Nine Hells. Ending Earth would be a piece of cake. I have also prepared a trump card, Ammon expressed. A trump card? Yes. Ammon smiled, his wrinkled face wrinkling further. He caressed a black orb in his pocket. The soul of a demon was squirming inside of it. Bale turned around apathetically, having no interest in it. He looked down at his army as he flapped his legs. I was a bit worried when the monitoring feature of the law was blocked. There is no need to worry, they are not prepared in the slightest. Ammon smiled widely. They were the ones who held the initiative since the humans had no idea when Bale and his army would invade. Their victory was already set in stone. Once you get your hands on the demonic sea, all privileges of the Law of Titans will be transferred to you. He, Bale laughed as his shoulders moved up and down. I don't need that shit, crack. Bale's head tilted at an abnormal 90 degrees and he stared at Ammon. What? I don't give a shit about what happens to the Law of Titans. I don't care about winning the war or making the Triad the territory of the Nine Hells. What do you see? Bale twirled as if dancing. All I need is to prove that he's nothing. Just seeing him struggling pathetically and powerlessly is enough for me. Everything else other than the Demon King is of no concern to me. Bale's eyes glinted with madness. Hihihi. Hihihi, he burst into crazed laughter as he stuck out his long tongue. Hey Ammon, yes Lord Bale, do you think the Demon King will be able to bear it, even if that were to disappear? Bale asked as he hummed. Ammon firmly shook his head. No, he will not be able to bear it. After all, the Demon King is not the one who keeps the demonic sea intact. Hihihi, right, he won't be able to do a thing right, Bale laughed as if making a fuss and trembled. Yeah, he looked up at the burning red sky, his eyes filled with ecstasy. Hihihi, you're nothing, he said to someone who couldn't see or hear him. I was first, okay, do you know that? I did it before you, huff huff. Bale shouted to the point that he was out of breath and then cackled. Heya, he sprawled on top of the hill of red sand. I've finally made it this far. Much time had passed since he lost to the Demon King, regained his power, acquired the Demon God's heart, and met the Demon King again. You laughed at me back then. Bale recalled the Demon King mocking him, saying that he was nothing. Crack. He clenched his fists so hard that his bones broke. Bale looked at the sky as he lay down on top of the hill. The burning red sky looked tranquil today for some reason. The calm before the storm, I believe it was called. It was the perfect phrase to describe the tranquility. Hi, hi, hi. You or me, I wonder. The battle on the day of the apocalypse would decide who was right. Chapter 505, Day of the Apocalypse, Part 2. Kang-woo and his comrades gathered in one place after the meal Layla had suggested every have together. Sheesh, Cha Yeonju sighed deeply and stared at Kang-woo as if she was sick and tired. How can you eat kimchi stew for our last meal? What's wrong with kimchi stew? It's delicious. You should seriously moderate that obsession of yours. Yeonju grabbed her forehead as if she were having a headache. Kang-woo smiled and remarked, the braised spicy chicken you made me was delicious too. What? I wasn't the one who made that. I just helped Siala make it because it would be hard for her to do everything by herself. Your consistent reactions. Teasing you has become one of my purposes in life at this point. Kang-woo nodded in satisfaction. Whenever he thought he was getting tired of it, Yeonju's tsundere reactions brought the fun right back. Every single moment of it is fun. It feels fresh every single time. Kang-woo smiled widely. Why, you son of a bitch? Yeonju shook in rage with her face reddened. Layla, who was watching from the sidelines, took a bite of a fruit slice and giggled. She remarked, ho ho ho, it seems you're an S in front of Yeonju. Kang-woo. Pardon, what S? You're more of an M when you're with Siala and Lilith. Are you perhaps interested in chains or whips? The fuck is this woman talking about? He is. He said he was interested a while ago, Siala shouted. I'm not. I knew it. It seems I wasn't seeing wrong, Siala. I said I'm not. In that case, let me introduce to you this website, Siala. If you take a look at this bondage package, gasp, how indecent. Stop it right now, you crazy woman. Kang-woo pulled on his hair as he twisted around. I don't have an interest in those things. I am an advocate for normal and wholesome. You weren't interested in that kind of stuff, Kang-woo, asked Echidna, who was munching on an apple slice on Kang-woo's lap as she tilted her head. What are you talking about? Why does everyone keep perverting my tastes? Well, there were tons of stuff like that on your external hard drive. Kang-woo's eyes widened. He asked with a trembling tone, W8 Echidna. You couldn't have, did you open it? The treasury containing the knowledge of the mysteries of life, the ark that would save the world from its end. It looked like you kept it hidden well, but you can't hide anything from me. But I'd set up a password. Kang-woo, you need to think of a better password than 1Q-W3E4R. I heard this code is commonly used to protect classified military secrets. It's uncrackable. A heavy silence fell. Echidna, Siala pulled Echidna by the arm with a smile. What's wrong, Siala? I'm also very curious about this external hard drive. Could you show it to me later? It felt as if freezing air was coming out of her mouth. Kang-woo, I'm scared. Me too, Kang-woo responded. Let's have a long talk about this once everything is over, Kang-woo, said Siala, her eyes as cold as ice. Yes, ma'am. Kang-woo lowered his head to avert his gaze from hers and everyone laughed. Man, is this what karma looks like? Yeonju smiled as if she had been redeemed and pounded on her stomach. That aside, mentioned Kim Si-hun as the laughter died down. It's tomorrow. The air around the house froze from that one sentence. They had burst into laughter to force themselves to forget, but there was no way they could forget that this piece would come to an end tomorrow. Sheesh, Si-hun. Stop being such a buzzkill, Kang-woo expressed. I'm sorry, Hyung-nim. No, that's just how you are. Kang-woo chuckled and leaned back in his chair. The invasion will begin tomorrow. The mood in the house fell dark because of how sure Kang-woo was. Si-hun said to break the silence. When this war is over, I have something to tell you, Lael. Hey, shut that son of a bitch up. He's trying to set a death flag. Balrog covered Si-hun's mouth with his hand in an instant. MMRP. Si-hun pushed Balrog's hand away and shouted, What the hell are you doing? Balrog chuckled and answered, I am just following my king's command, no other reason. Heya, Kang-woo sighed and looked around. He was surrounded by people whom he had made unbreakable bonds with after coming to Earth. He did not want to break those bonds, no, he couldn't. It's a bit of a shame Uriel isn't here. Kang-woo had no choice but to leave Uriel out of the invitation since it would be dangerous to have an angel near Balrog and Lilith. After all, there would be nothing more of a pain in the ass than having internal troubles before the final battle. During the war, it should be fine since I've stationed them as far away as possible. The war would take place throughout the entire city of Seoul instead of in a small area. Hence, there was no need to worry about the angels meeting Balrog and Lilith. No, even if they do meet, the war would be so hectic that the angels wouldn't have the leeway to find out. Kang-woo turned to Lilith and asked, How is the status of the barrier? I've checked it thoroughly. A barrier that covers the entirety of Seoul will be erected as soon as it is activated. Good. Kang-woo then turned to Layla and asked, "How is the defense line? The mage players and the angels have worked together to prepare a wide area magic spell. We'll be able to deal considerable damage as soon as the battle begins. Are you sure it will be enough firepower?" "I'm sure with Ciala's buffs," Kang-woo nodded. He couldn't fully put his faith in the players and angels, but it was a different story if Ciala was buffing them. "What about the reinforcements from Erner?" "I've brought the entire army of Arnon," answered Iris with her fists clenched. Kang-woo laughed unconsciously. "Even if the situation is dire, the entire army is a bit. It's okay. No noble would dare act out of line thanks to your purging spree of corrupt nobles." Yeah, sure. Is that something to say so brightly anyway? What about the Church of Splendor?" Yeonju answered, "Well, I've selected volunteers after filtering out the ones who were vowing to stay even if it were to kill them. I don't think they'd be of much help, though. Most of the devotees of the Church of Splendor were powerless civilians. Not many would be of direct help in the war." "It's okay, you're all we need," Kang-woo mentioned. "Yeonju by herself would be far more helpful than a group of nobodies." "NGH," Yeonju flinched and lowered her head. "Right then, Balrog, you take Echidna, Halcyon, and the Bag of Bones to let loose on Bale's army. Si-hun, you stick with Guardians." "Yes, my king." "Understood, Hyung-nim." Kang-woo stood up from his chair after getting their answers. "Okay then, let's all get some rest for tomorrow." He turned around and opened the front door of the apartment with a dragon pattern on it. Kang-woo looked up at the night sky and thought about the dinner full of laughs he just had. He reached out his hand toward the sky and slowly closed it. His desire blazed so strongly to the point that the hunger starving him was dissipating. For a tomorrow as great as today, whoosh. Flames resembling a black sun burned brightly around him. A hunchback demon with a staff stood on top of a red hill in front of countless demons standing at attention. Ammon looked back at Bale, who was lying leisurely on the hill. "Are you sure I can do it?" he asked. "Yeah, I'm not interested in that kind of stuff," answered Bale apathetically as he rolled around on the red sand. Ammon sighed and shook his head. He then raised his staff in front of the demons. Demons of the ninth hell, bang, a wave of dense demonic energy spread across the surroundings once he smashed his staff down on the ground. He said with a voice as unpleasant as nails on a chalkboard, "The day of the apocalypse has come. Rah! For Lord Bale, for the birth of the new king of demons." The demons standing at the foot of the hill roared in unison. They celebrated the birth of the new demon king. "Today, the triad will be destroyed and born anew in the name of Lord Bale." Sparks ran through Ammon's entire body. He had dreamed of one day seeing enough demons to fill the entirety of the ninth hell standing together. And Ammon slowly turned his head. Demons were not the only ones gathered here. How boring. When will the battle begin? They were beings of worlds outside of the triad who had submitted to Bale and decided to follow him. "I'll have to deal with them one day." They would be of use in Bale's army at the moment, but they couldn't be trusted in the long run. Even A cut all ties with us and ran away. Ammon had granted A the position of one of the four heavenly kings due to his unyielding loyalty to Bale, but A vanished after leaving a message that he would stop serving Bale about a month ago. For Ammon, who was managing the army in Bale's place, it was as if a sledgehammer had smashed the back of his head. The incident had crushed his trust in otherworldly beings. "Well, it matters not." Ammon's eyes glinted sharply. It would be a piece of cake to replenish their lacking forces once they won the war and turned the triad into the territory of the nine hells. And Lord Bale will be the one to win. Ammon cackled as his shoulders moved up and down. As long as the demon king possessed Ingrium, a branch of the corrupted world tree, Bale's victory was guaranteed. Lord Bale will get his hands on the demonic sea. Once that happens, a titan, Ammon whispered. He thought about the titans who created and ruled over countless worlds beyond the triad. "As long as those detestable beings disappear, I'll be able to get my hands on the primordial knowledge." The primordial knowledge was what Hecate, the titan who created magic, tried to acquire. Ammon was getting heated just thinking about getting his hands on that knowledge. "Demons of the ninth hell." Ammon raised his staff high again. Whoom, the black magic circle drawn on the entire red hill shone, split. The air cracked and created a giant red rift. "Advance." Rah! Boom boom, the demons of the ninth hell charged into the rift as per Ammon's command. Finally, Ammon's eyes shone. He had been waiting for this day for so long. "Slaughter to your heart's content," shouted Ammon with his arms spread out. He passed through the red rift to the concrete city. What the hell? The people on the streets expressed shock as they stared at the giant rift that appeared in the middle of Seoul. Ammon cackled unpleasantly. The pathetic screams of the humans marked the beginning of the apocalypse. Ammon let the thrill take over his body and swung his staff. He created spears of demonic energy and fired them at the humans standing blankly. However, the humans pierced by the spears turned into black mucus and splashed on the ground. What? Only then did Ammon realize that the humans filling the streets were not humans but dolls in the form of humans. What in the world is all forces? The Demon King, enveloped in radiant splendor, floating in the air, raised his hand before Ammon could comprehend what was going on. Fire, rumble. A thunderous sound that signaled the beginning of the apocalypse shook the entirety of Seoul. Sheet, this is it, what a fantastic sound. The Demon King cackled as he looked down at the horde of demons getting engulfed by the explosions. Art, he spread his arms out and shouted ecstatically, is an explosiuan. SHIET, Chapter 506, Day of the Apocalypse, Part 3, Rumble. A giant heat storm swept throughout the concrete city. The demons that were caught in the explosion were reduced to ashes and scattered. The day of the apocalypse, which Baal's army had dreamed of, began with the wretched screens of demons. Kurg, Ammon grunted. The intense heat was penetrating his demonic energy barrier and burning his skin. Sizzle, pus oozed out from his skin as excruciating pain attacked him. How? Ammon's eyes widened. He stared at the giant explosion that had swept the surroundings. Such firepower could not have been possible unless the humans had prepared in advance for the invasion of Baal's army. They must have found out about the day of the apocalypse. That was the only possible explanation. Gah, Ammon groaned as unpleasantly as nails on a chalkboard. He gripped his staff tightly and hunched back even more. Tent of evil, he chanted. Ammon had no idea how the Demon King acquired information about the day of the apocalypse, but he did not have the leeway to think about it. Crackle. A black tent spread out in front of Ammon and covered Baal's army, deflecting the barrage of light rays from the mage players and the angels. Whoa the fuck, you've gotten pretty strong in the time I haven't seen you, said Kang-woo, looking down at the black tent. Ammon was well known in Hell as a demonic scholar even during Kang-woo's days as the Demon King, but his strength was only in academics. He was of no threat whatsoever combat-wise. However, seeing Ammon single-handedly blocking the barrage of attacks from players and angels, he was no longer the weakling scholar whom Kang-woo knew. Tusk, Kang-woo clicked his tongue and shook his head in disappointment. This is why power balancing is important. Make someone too overpowered and the author is forced to power everyone up like it's some clearance sale. Kurg, you think so too, right, Ammon? If you were to be set up as nothing but a scholar, you should have stayed that way. How does it make any sense for the story if you just power up out of nowhere? Shut up, Demon King. And one more thing, damn it. What is a mastermind in the shadows character like you doing in the Vanguard? Why is a mage like you the first to come out? You Galdolf, blood vessels bulged from Ammon's forehead. He had seen the frivolous side of the Demon King many times, but he couldn't help but surge with rage now that he was the target of ridicule. Huff huff, Ammon panted heavily. He raised his staff and stomped his foot. Boom. A massive wave of demonic energy spread out in all directions like a rock dropped into a pond. The wave began to push back the barrage of attacks. Man, you sure are going all out for a frail son of a bitch. Kang-woo crossed his arms and looked down leisurely at Ammon. Now then, he slowly raised his hand and smiled crookedly. Try blocking this. He pressed a button on his earbud communication device made by Codger's blood, sweat, and tears. Darling. Yes, Kang-woo. Cast the buffs. After his concise instruction, a massive pillar of light shot up into the sky from where the barrage of light was coming from. That's... Ammon slurred with his eyes widened. He knew exactly what the 12 wings overlapped with the pillar of light signified. He hurriedly shouted, disperse. Disperse right now. The army of demons, who were marching in formation like highly trained soldiers, clumsily scattered as per Ammon's command. Their airtight formation crumbled almost instantly. Right, here comes another one, Kang-woo cackled and spread out his arms widely. Art, womb, mana, incomparable to the amount from before, poured from the defense line once Han Siala's buffs were cast. Is an explosiuan. Rumble, the magic circle that the mage rankers and angels spent an entire month creating brightly shone blue. Kai-ha-ha-ha-ha. A blonde angel standing at the center of the magic circle with a bottle of alcohol in one hand laughed madly. It was Gabriel, the archangel, who had worked the hardest to make the magic circle. So these are Lady Seraph's buffs, this is just cheating. Gabriel's face reddened as she trembled. Kang-woo had been hiding the fact that Seraph's soul was lying dormant within Siala, but he revealed it in advance so that there would be no chaos during the final battle. However, this was the first time Siala directly revealed her power. Gabriel burst into laughter as she felt the extraordinary effects of Siala's buffs. Kai-ha-ha-ha. I thought this girlie only had her breasts going for her, but she had something even more amazing. Please don't suddenly touch my breasts. Hihihi, okay. Right then, Gabriel, who had been feeling up Siala, sprouted her wings, threw aside her bottle of alcohol and narrowed her eyes sharply. Those tainted by darkness, she said coldly, unlike how much she was laughing a few seconds ago. The players and angels around her placed their hands on the magic circle. Gabriel stared coldly at Baal's army and declared, "Receive the judgment of light." Rumble. Rays of light poured down like rainfall from the shining magic circle. Kang-woo frowned as he stared at Gabriel standing at the center of the magic circle. That bitch, how dare she lay her hands on my darling? He wanted nothing more than to smack her on the back of the head this instant, but it was not the time. What the? Are you planning on wiping out the entire continent? Ammon shouted as he was just barely blocking the light rays. Kang-woo smirked. As Ammon had said, the barrage of light rays was powerful enough to wipe out not just Seoul but the entire Korean peninsula. You think I don't know that? Kang-woo said. What? Ammon frowned and looked around. The light rays were reflecting off of the barrier surrounding the entirety of Seoul and falling on the demons. It was as if a flamethrower was being used in a small room. The energy trapped within the barrier was destroying everything inside. Kurg, Ammon aggressively bit his lip. I have to destroy that magic circle first. They couldn't endure the barrage of attacks for much longer. Ammon raised his staff and chanted Zazas, Zazas, Nasatanata Zazas. It kinda looks like our roles are reversed. Kang-woo tilted his head and looked down at Ammon, who was doing his best to block the rain of attacks. I feel like the villain. Ammon, who was blocking the barrage as he chanted spells, looked more like a hero protecting his comrades than a demon trying to end the world. Well, not like it was any different before. Kang-woo laughed as he looked down at the demons scattering all over the place like flies. Not a bad start. Ammon being in the vanguard worked in their favor. A mage needed time and safety to display their full potential. If Ammon had cast magic from a safe space at the rear, they would not have been able to deal this much damage to Baal's army. But Guardians still did not have the upper hand despite dealing considerable damage to Baal's forces. This is only the beginning. They had overpowered the demons using the element of surprise, but it was short-lived. Here they come. Kang-woo slowly turned around and saw ancient demonic beasts over 20 meters tall running out of the rift. Grrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrr barrage of light rays. It's not enough. Although a few demonic beasts died from being unable to handle the barrage, the demons began their charge by using the demonic beasts as their shield. For Lord Baal, for the apocalypse, the demons who managed to get out of the barrage's range flew toward the defense line. Kang-woo gripped Ingrium on his waist as he stared at them. No, he shook his head after some thought. Taking action himself would certainly tilt the momentum in the favor of Earth's forces, but Baal has yet to make an appearance. He and Baal were the ones who would decide who would win or lose. As long as Baal was keeping himself hidden, Kang-woo couldn't take reckless action either. I need to dissociate myself from those small fry. Kang-woo needed to keep his focus on Baal, and Kang-woo smiled. He had already prepared a method to wipe out the demons flying toward the defense line. Destroy that magic circle first. Several thousand demons had flown out of the range of the barrage. There were so many that they covered the sky. Gods of Olympus. Just then Gaia walked out from the defense line. Behind her were other gods who had manifested into Earth, glaring at the demons with weapons in hand. Bring down judgment on the forces of evil who have dared to set foot on the Triad. The gods of Olympus flew up toward the swarm of demons who had covered the sky. There were not many of them due to Baal's attack on Olympus, but each of them possessed deific essence. Boom, Gaia, Arg, the gods of Olympus flew right into the swarm of demons, the deific essence barrier protecting them, and began to tear the demons apart. Ammon frowned. He clenched his staff and shouted, "Ingest the horn powder." Every demon raised the pouch hanging from their necks and poured its contents into their mouths. Womb, explosive demonic energy filled the sky. Kurg. Gaia grimaced. So this is the power of deicide. Just as Kang-woo had told her, the demons had prepared a way to fight against those with deific essence. Gaia stretched out her arm and shouted, "Fall back." It was impossible to slaughter the demons one-sidedly, as they were doing before now that the demons possessed the power of deicide. Raiha! The demons roared ferociously and flew down to the defense line once the gods of Olympus retreated. It looked as if the night sky was falling on the ground. Eek! What should we do? The players who were infusing mana into the magic circle looked around frantically. Stay focused on maintaining the magic circle, Gabriel commanded. However, the panic that had already been spread did not die down. No human could stay calm when a swarm of demons were flying down on them. The panic spread to the angels as well. Clatter. Just then red chains enveloped the magic circle like a dome. Red Lotus, 8th form, step. A slender woman with red hair spread out her arms and stood at the center of the magic circle. Clatter, the hundreds of chains squirmed as if they were alive with each step the woman took. Red Lotus kaleidoscope. Swoosh, the red chains in the shape of a dome shot at the demons. The chains, which possessed the power of deicide like the demons who ingested the horn powder, tore the demons apart. Finally, Cha Yeonju clenched her fists as her shoulders trembled. Finally, she pumped her fists into the air. I finally get a badass scene. Her sorrow, which had been built up from constant teasing by the Demon King, burst out all at once. Chapter 507, Day of the Apocalypse, Part 4, Grind. The chilling sound of meat being ground in a mixer echoed. The demons wrapped by the red chains burst into little pieces. Black blood poured like rain. Haya, Cha Yeonju panted heavily. Maybe I was a bit too greedy. Although it was an emergency, she had used far too big of a technique to wipe out the demons. Yeonju staggered momentarily due to mana exhaustion. Yeonju, shouted Han Seala, who was maintaining the buffs. Don't worry about me, replied Yeonju as she shook her head. Seala's buffs were necessary to keep the power of the light rays as they were. Yeonju couldn't allow Seala to stop the buffs just for her. Grrr, die human woman. A demon charged out of the storm of chains and swung his hammer at Yeonju's head with enough force to kill her instantly. Yeonju tumbled backward to dodge the hammer and extended her arm clatter. Red chains shot out of her wrist wrapped around the hammer. Hoop, Yeonju lightly jumped. Foolish girl, the demon with the hammer smiled. Wrapping chains around a hammer that could be swung with enough force to kill her instantly was just asking to die. Whoosh. The chains were pulled taut and Yeonju shot up into the air. Die, the demon swung Yeonju all over the place and then swung the hammer down. Boom, the force of impact made a crater on the ground. The demon's eyes widened. The woman, whom he thought would have become paste after being smashed into the ground, was nowhere to be seen. Over here, bastard. Tap. Yeonju had instantly unraveled the chains around the demon's hammer and landed on the demon's neck. She then wrapped her chains around the neck of the 5-meter-tall demon. Red Lotus, 5th form. Clatter. Chains spread out like a spider web with the demon as the epicenter and wrapped around other demons in its area as they slithered across the ground like a snake. Spider wrestling, the chains spread out like a spider web and connected every demon in its radius. Enough of your tricks, the demon with the hammer tried to shake off the chains wrapped around him. Stop, damn it. The chains connecting the demons were pulled along the demon's movements. The sharp thorns on the chains sunk into the demon's flesh and tore it apart. Go as wild as you want, said Yeonju as she snorted and jumped off of the demon's neck. Damn it, the more the demons tried to shake off the chains, the deeper the chains' thorns dug into them. They were given no choice but to stay in place. Now then, that should more or less take care of them. Yeonju expressed satisfaction after restraining the demons who had reached the magic circle and turned around. Shit, however, there were just as many demons flying toward the magic circle. Although the barrage of light rays continued, countless demons were also charging out of the rift. Not just that, even more demons were escaping the barrage area using the ancient demonic beasts as meat shields and were flying toward the defense line. There's no end to them. Although Yeonju specialized in dealing with many enemies at once, not even she could deal with an endless number of demons by herself. Grrr. On top of that, the ancient demonic beasts who managed to charge through the barrage were running straight to the defense line. Each of them was easily over 20 meters tall. I can't stop them. The demonic beasts did not possess the power of deicide, but their baseline level of physical strength was far too high for Yeonju to handle. Shit, Yeonju cursed. Grrr. The giant ancient demonic beasts shook their bodies and whipped their tails. Yeonju hurriedly shot her chains at them. Clunk, ngh. Yeonju had used so many chains when dealing with the demons. Her bracelets became heavy and the chains shooting toward the demonic beasts fell lifelessly on the ground. Damn it, she cursed and prepared to retreat. Spark, crackle, just then blue lightning struck the demonic beast's tails. Red hair. We can't hold the line any longer, shouted Uriel. Who are you calling red hair, brat? What brat? I've lived 10 times longer than you. HMPH, if you look like a brat, then you're a brat, you obnoxious human. Yeonju and Uriel glared at each other. Both of you please calm down, said Michael as he landed between them and sighed. Sorry, this isn't the time. Yeonju lowered her head and backed down. There's no end to them. She stared at Bale's army as if she were sick and tired of them. Each demon was powerful, but the bigger issue was their endless numbers. An enormous number of demons were charging at the defense line like a swarm of bees trying to protect their nest. This is bad. They were protecting the defense line the best they could, but they no longer had the strength to. But if we were to fall back... Yeonju looked back to see the players and angels pouring their mana into the magic circle. They were already exhausted. If she were to retreat, everyone here would be torn apart by the demons. Yeonju clenched her fists tightly. She had no choice but to protect everyone here with her life. Can you hear me? Just then Yeonju heard a voice from her communication device in her ear. Kang-woo, yeah, can you send Si-hun here? I don't think we can hold out much longer. Fall back. What? Fall back? Yeah. Give up on the defense line. What the hell are you talking about? Shouted Yeonju, her eyes widened. Abandoning the defense line was no different from leaving everyone here to die. Don't worry, Yeonju heard Kang-woo chuckle. I've already prepared an escape route for them, but if you do that, the magic circle will. Yeonju slurred as she looked back at the magic circle. It's fine, it is. Yeah, after all, Kang-woo cackled menacingly. That magic circle was bait from the very beginning. Yeonju remained silent. Hearing that, she felt as if she had been hit on the back of her head. This magic circle was bait. Based on the details of the plan she was given, this magic circle needed to be protected at all costs, so she did her best to protect it. But it was bait all along. Why are you deceiving even your allies? Yeonju shouted as she frowned angrily. If the magic circle was bait, then it meant the forces stationed here were all bait as well. Because Kang-woo snickered from across the communication device. That would make you more desperate. Yeonju was left with her mouth agape. She slapped her forehead. You son of a… She thought that Kang-woo was the shittiest person in the world. However, she realized that he was that kind of person from the start. No wonder the system called him the god of fucking splendor. Yeonju clicked her tongue and shook her head. So what do you need me to do? She asked. You'll see 3 blue crystal orbs at the center of the magic circle. Just infuse mana into them. Got it. Yeonju nodded and turned around. She shouted at the angels and players, everyone get in the magic circle. She reached the center of the magic circle and found the 3 blue crystal orbs. She infused mana into them as Kang-woo instructed. Woom, this is… what's happening? Blinding light poured out of the magic circle and enveloped everything in its radius. The players and angels above the magic circle vanished as if they dissipated into thin air. Now, destroy the magic circle. The demons, seeing that the forces protecting the magic circle had retreated, charged at the magic circle as they roared. Shit, run away, you idiots, Ammon shouted. The demons looked back at Ammon in confusion. He had commanded them to destroy the magic circle, but now he was commanding them to run away. It's a trap. Get away from there right now, Ammon yelled. Kang-woo laughed, unable to hold it in. It's too late. He licked his lips and snapped his fingers. Ah, Ammon muttered, boom. He reached out in desperation, but was unable to stop the explosion of the magic circle. Biwehehe, Kang-woo burst into laughter, grasping his stomach. Why would you even charge all together like a bunch of morons? Throwing so many demons at the magic circle to destroy it ended up being the worst possible decision. Kang-woo cackled as he looked down at the demons who had been reduced to ashes. Kekek, you sure thought things through, Demon King. Ammon clenched his staff tightly with his trembling hand. That was not all of Baal's army that was caught in the explosion, but it was still a significant portion. So many that the number wouldn't be restored for a very long time even after ending Earth and turning it into the territory of the 9 hells. How very interesting. Hey, to think the King of Demons would pull such an undignified trick. Hey, you crying for real? Lord Baal would be terribly disappointed in why, biwehehe. This son of a bitch is crying. Hey guys, take a look at this crybaby. Ammon clenched his staff so hard that it could break. Blood vessels bulged from his forehead and he glared at Kang-woo. He can only act leisurely for so long. The explosion had dealt a massive blow to Baal's army, but they were still going strong. Boom, Ammon aggressively slammed his staff down on the ground. The red rift grew bigger. So this is Earth. Kahahaha, how long I've waited for this day. This is our territory now. The otherworldly beings walked out of the rift. Wow, there sure are a lot of them, Kang-woo mentioned as he stared at the otherworldly beings of diverse appearances. He crossed his arms and slowly turned his head. Shwing, Sihun unsheathed his sword and walked out as if he had waited for this moment. The Sirius core is ready, he said. Good, Kang-woo nodded. Now that the defense line was destroyed, the only thing left to do was to scuffle it out on the battlefield known as Seoul. Charge, Sihun shouted. The Guardians players charged at the otherworldly beings. Clang, boom. The number of injured among the players rapidly increased as the battle went on. Kang-woo stared at the red rift with deeply sunken eyes. Isn't it about time you crawled out of there, Hihai? The voice of a boy echoed in Kang-woo's head as a response. Chapter 508, Reason for his desire. You've really outdone yourself, huh? A boy's voice echoed inside Kang-woo's head. Kang-woo smiled faintly and answered, I had plenty of time thanks to a certain dumbass after all. Hihai, a quiet crazed laughter echoed. The corners of Kang-woo's mouth lowered and he stared at the red rift coldly. Baal, said the King of Demons, let's end this. Crack, the red rift contorted and ripped open further. Kang-woo heard footsteps from across the rift and walked out a boy with black hair. Yeah, it's about time we did. Baal took a deep breath after walking out of the rift. He looked around and cackled. It's been a while. He stretched out his long tongue and licked his lips. The corners of his mouth tore up to his ears, exposing his red gums and the sharp teeth that protruded out from them. I don't think it's been that long, Kang-woo responded. I wasn't talking to you. What? Kang-woo frowned. Hihihi, Baal cackled, having no intention of elaborating. Kang-woo narrowed his eyes as he stared at Baal. Let me ask you something. Baal tilted his head. A question had been on Kang-woo's mind ever since his reunion with Baal, and he was unable to find the answer no matter how much he thought about it. Why do you have the Authority of Predation? The Authority of Predation was what made Kang-woo what he was now. No, it was pretty much a part of him at this point. However, Baal had it as well. There can't be more than one of the same authority. Kang-woo could use more than one authority because he had absorbed the authorities themselves with the Authority of Predation, but they were ultimately different authorities. Multiple copies of the same authority couldn't exist. Hihai, Bale snickered in exasperation. You're asking, why do I have the authority of predation? He spread his arms widely and continued, because. I was first. Kang-woo wasn't following. What does that mean, Hihai? It means exactly what it sounds like. I was before you, and I'm asking what that am. Bale stomped his foot fiercely. He cried, I climbed first. From the first to the ninth hell, I climbed to the top before you. Hihihi, I suffered like crazy, to live, to survive. I desperately struggled. Bale had crawled pathetically, miserably, and desperately. I ate, and ate again, and then I reached the ninth hell while you were still idling away in the upper floors, but why? Why were you the one who completed the demonic sea? Kang-woo, a mere amoeba slower and weaker than him, managed to complete the demonic sea that Bale couldn't. Kang-woo's eyes shook. Bale's wretched screams etched into his mind. So what you're saying is, Kang-woo stared at Bale as if he had never even considered the possibility. You were also a human who fell into hell on that day. Kang-woo was not the only one devoured by the Black Rift and fell into hell. Oh, I see, so that's what he meant, Kang-woo chuckled. It's been a while. Bale had not been referring to Kang-woo but to Earth, which he was looking around at. Yeah, I've heard about it. Bale was the very first demon to start from the first hell and reach the ninth, not Kang-woo. And he was also the first to kill a prince of hell and take over his seat. Although the history was buried because of Kang-woo's miraculous feats after reaching the ninth hell, Bale had also undeniably rewritten the history of the nine hells. Yeah, I was. Bale glared ferociously at Kang-woo and gritted his teeth. And I reached the ninth hell several times faster than you. You and I. Bale shook his leg temperamentally and continued, we are but vessels made to complete the demonic sea. The demon god had created Bale and Kang-woo solely for that purpose. No, I guess it wasn't just you and me, Bale mentioned. It wasn't. Yeah, the demon god made countless vessels like you and me. Bale gritted his teeth and mumbled, and among those who survived, the one closest to completion wasn't you. But me? Ha, Kang-woo chuckled. So that's why that son of a bitch called me a puppet. Kang-woo was nothing but a vessel to hold the demonic sea, destined for the demon god to take over once the demonic sea was completed. Alright, I more or less understand what you're talking about now, but so what? What? You're making all this sound so fucking grandiose, but it just means you're nothing but a dumbass who wasn't able to complete the demonic sea, doesn't it? If you were the best of us, then you would have completed it. But the one who did was not Bale but Kang-woo. Bale's eyes shook, he grimaced and temperamentally bit his nail. Hihihi, I don't understand. Why was it you and not me? He was the most perfect out of all the vessels the demon god created, but he had ultimately failed. Why, bang, bang, bang. Bale stomped his foot and shouted, why was it you and not me? Bale glared madly at Kang-woo. There was only one emotion filling his eyes. Sheesh, I can feel your inferiority complex from here, you loser, Kang-woo mocked. He couldn't help but laugh as he felt Bale's intense sense of inferiority directed at him. You want to know why you weren't able to complete the demonic sea? Isn't it obvious? Kang-woo stared at Bale with deeply sunken eyes. It's because you didn't desire it. Arikal was right. Desire was what made demons what they were. Only desire could complete them. I didn't desire, Bale muttered. Exactly. Kang-woo recalled the Bale he had met back in the ninth hell. He became the most powerful prince of hell after killing Beelzebub and taking his seat as the prince of gluttony. But that's all you amounted to. You killed a prince of hell and took his seat. What's so wrong about and what did you do after that? That's right, you were, Kang-woo smiled. Satisfied with that, Bale stopped desiring after becoming known as the strongest prince of hell and realizing that no one was his equal. He had given up. Unlike you, Kang-woo took a deep breath. Unlike Bale, who was satisfied with the seat of a prince of hell, Kang-woo was never satisfied even after becoming the king of demons and completing the demonic sea. How? Bale stared at Kang-woo in disbelief. How can you be like that? Because we desired different things. Kang-woo chuckled. They were both vessels for the demonic sea but had different desires. That's probably the difference between you and me. Hihihi, Bale laughed like a maniac. So what was it that you wanted? What grandiose thing did you desire so badly that you were able to get your hands on the demonic sea? Well, Kang-woo crossed his arms and thought about what he desired in the nine hells so badly to the point that he managed to gain the immense power of the demonic sea. I wanted kimchi stew. What? Come on, man, didn't you miss it too? You're from Earth too. I mean, I don't know if you were Korean, but the spicy soup, the sour kimchi, the white rice, and the thick meat. I had more than enough desire left over even after completing the demonic sea, no cap. What the fuck? I mean, there were some other things as well. No, a lot of other things. Women, yeah, I wanted to see women too. Let's see, yeah, I wanted to curl up in some warm bed covers and read novels with the air conditioner blasting. What a life. Bale was left with his mouth agape as he stared at Kang-woo. What? Kang-woo snickered. You think they're dumbass reasons? You think they're pathetic? Bale remained silent, but his fiercely blazing eyes were giving away his answer. Okay then, Kang-woo smiled and asked, would you have been able to do it? What? Would you have been able to make my desires a reality back when you were hailed as the strongest prince of hell? That's. Bale slurred. Kang-woo's desires were impossible to make a reality in the nine hells. In other words, it would have only been possible by killing the seven princes of hell, collecting the weapons containing the princes' souls, and getting the help of a demonic scholar knowledgeable enough to bend space and time. No, it would have been impossible even with all those factors. Kang-woo didn't know about it at the time, but he also needed to break through the defense system known as Earth's protection with nothing to protect him. Would you have been able to do all those things? Well, Bale's voice shook. It would be a piece of cake for him now since he had the demon god's heart, deific essence, and even the privileges to bend the law of titans. But if it were me back then? If it had been the Bale who had taken the seat of the Prince of Gluttony, was satisfied there and stopped desiring, would he have dared to even think about an absurd goal like going back to Earth? Would he have been able to continue desiring desperately for it and push through to the very end? Bale gritted his teeth. Right then, you understand why I'm the one with the demonic sea now, right? Kang-woo did not want to live as a demon. He did not want to stay in hell. At the very core, I'm not a demon but the human, oh Kang-woo. Human, you say, hihihi. Bale grabbed his stomach and crouched. No, you and I. Bale pointed at Kang-woo and then at himself. His eyes glinted with madness as he said, yes, we have never once been human. Kang-woo recalled the memory of when he was inside his consciousness. Do you remember the face of your mother? He recalled what demon god Bali said to him. How could a normal human possess the authority of predation? Could a human that is nothing remain sane after absorbing such an enormous amount of demonic energy? The answer was simple. Kang-woo was never human from the very beginning. He had been a monster wearing human skin since his days on Earth. I kinda expected that. He had expected that he was not normal ever since he used the authority of predation when he first fell into hell. So what? Kang-woo asked apathetically. You're not surprised? Bale tilted his head, unable to understand. Kang-woo chuckled at Bale's reaction, which was the same as that of Bali. What, do you want me to be shocked, huh? Do you want me to kneel in despair, saying shit like to think I was never human? It didn't matter whether or not Kang-woo was human at this point, even if he was nothing but a monster in human skin. Why should I give a shit? Whatever he was, he had lived, survived, and desired as a human. Can't I just be classified as a human if I did all that? Bale remained silent, completely flabbergasted. You've been going on with the exposition as you excitedly expose grandiose and dumbass hidden secrets like us being vessels to complete the demonic sea, monsters in human skin, but it doesn't change shit. Whatever Oh Kang-woo was, it did not erase the life that he had lived as Oh Kang-woo. It was as impossible as erasing the world just by closing one's eyes. Chapter 509, I knew you would open a door, hihihi. Bale laughed in a twisted way. He swept up his black hair and mumbled, yeah, you were always like this. The Demon King had been this kind of person even when he used to crawl like a dog and lick Bale's feet back in hell. No matter how humiliating a situation he was put in, he was always shamelessly prideful. He never broke nor bent down, he was always so relaxed as if he were always mocking his opponent. No, the Demon King was not like that at all times. Bale knew how to break that vulgar and shameless Demon King. You'll break soon enough. Hihihi. Bale's shoulders moved up and down as he stuck his long tongue out and cackled. Though Kang-woo frowned slightly. What is this? An unknown sense of uneasiness ran down his back. He unsheathed Ingrium from his waist. Fu. Kang-woo could feel himself calming down after grabbing the sword made with the branch of the corrupted world tree. He erased the uneasy feeling from his head and said deeply, why don't we leave the chit-chat here? We're not here to discuss whether we're human or not, are we? It was certainly surprising that Bale had been one of the humans who had fallen into hell with Kang-woo and that they had never been human. But that doesn't matter right now. The truth did not matter after all this time. Kang-woo couldn't care less about an insignificant surprise twist. All that mattered right now was his battle against Bale. Kang-woo thought about ways to defeat Bale and stop the apocalypse. I shouldn't hold off on opening the doors to the last minute. He had never opened the doors as soon as the battle began. No, he couldn't because it was a trump card with a time limit. If he used it initially, he would only be driven to a disadvantage as time went on. For example, it was like a berserk mode that bosses used in games when they were in low health. Not opening the doors was never an option against Bale, but it was far too inefficient to use it before the battle even began. But Kang-woo was prone to death when the doors weren't open. He would die if he were beheaded or if his heart were crushed, just like all life forms. Should I shoulder the risk and put off opening the doors or eliminate the risk and choose an inefficient option? The later the doors were opened, the better it was. However, if Bale was far stronger than Kang-woo had anticipated, Kang-woo might die just because he was adamant about putting it off. Kang-woo bit his lip. He still wasn't sure when to use his trump card. In the first place, I have no idea just how strong Bale is at the moment. The Bale Kang-woo had met in Erner was not strong enough for Kang-woo to immediately open the doors. It was more efficient to buy some time as they fought and find the perfect time to open the doors. But now that Bale possessed the demon god's heart, it was near impossible for Kang-woo to predict how much stronger Bale had become. Hi, what's wrong? Weren't we gonna fight right away? Bale stared leisurely at Kang-woo, who simply gripped Ingrium tightly without answering. I guess I have no choice then. Bale spread out his arms and slowly placed his right hand over his heart. Open, Kang-woo's eyes widened. OSH, he quickly jumped backward. Crash, black mucus poured over the area where Kang-woo had been standing. Countless mouths contorted, broke, and tore apart the surroundings. How did you? Said Kang-woo in shock. He then recalled what Bale had said. You and I, we are but vessels made to complete the demonic sea. Shit, Kang-woo cursed. Based on that, it meant he and Bale were fundamentally the same, vessels made to hold the colossal power known as the demonic sea. In that case, it was not strange at all for Bale to be able to open the doors as well. I thought you said you weren't able to complete the demonic sea, asked Kang-woo after just barely dodging Bale's attack. Heh, Bale smiled. Yeah, it's not as complete as yours. He nodded and raised his arm, which had turned into black mucus, and swung it. Splash, black mucus covered in mouth shot at Kang-woo. He quickly rolled to the side to dodge them. But I can also use it to an extent, he. Bale burst into innocent laughter and stared at his hand hazily. Kang-woo frowned. It must be thanks to acquiring the demon god's heart. Bale did not open the doors when Kang-woo fought against him in hell. No, to be more precise, he couldn't. Considering that, the only possible explanation he could use the demonic sea to an extent was because he now had the demon god's heart. Because the one who keeps the demonic sea intact is the demon god. Kang-woo did not want to admit it, but the demonic sea inside him could only stay intact thanks to the power of the demon god inside the abyss. It was only natural since the demon god was the one who created the vessels. In other words, if a portion of the demon god's power flowed into Bale, there was no reason why Bale couldn't open the doors. Hihai, Kurg, Bale flinched. Bleeg. He suddenly clenched his chest and vomited black mucus. Kurg, Bale trembled and swayed as if he lost strength in his legs. Kang-woo's eyes shone, but it's not perfect. Although Bale could open the doors, it was nowhere near as stable as Kang-woo's technique. He wasn't sure, but Bale probably wouldn't be able to open anything past the first door. Crunch, Kurg, mouths attached to Kang-woo's arm and bit into it relentlessly. Slash. Kang-woo severed his entire arm without hesitation using the authority of blades. The black mucus would never come off of a body part once it stuck to it. The only way to remove it was to sever the body part that it had attached to. Kang-woo narrowed his eyes. It would be pointless to stall for time and hope for Bale's door to close. Not only was it highly risky, but he had no idea when it would end. No, maybe. There was a possibility that it wouldn't end. Because his demonic sea isn't complete. Kang-woo couldn't keep the doors open forever because the power of the demonic sea would grow so massive to the point he couldn't keep it under control and devour him whole. Bale's demonic sea was not complete. That fact might rather be what could allow Bale to keep the door open and avoid the demonic sea from devouring him. Kang-woo sighed deeply. He looked down at his severed left arm and raised his right arm. He did not have to think for long. I have to open it. There was no other way to face Bale. He slowly placed his right hand over his chest just then. ZZZZZZT. A specific incantation is required to use the second effect of Ruler of the Demonic Sea. The incantation is Kurg. Kang-woo's vision blurred. The system window, which he hadn't seen in a while, appeared in front of him. The second effect, an incantation. All sorts of questions popped up in his head. Even if he wanted to check what the incantation was, he couldn't because the letters were filled with static. What the hell? What was the point of an incantation if the letters were covered? Crunch, Kurg. Black mucus bit off Kang-woo's flesh before he even had a chance to finish his thoughts. I'm out of time. He did not have the leeway to think about the second effect. He placed his right hand on his chest again and muttered, open. 2 doors opened, whoosh. The surrounding area shook as the flames of veracity wrapped around Kang-woo. A thrill traveled across him as he felt an inexplicable sense of omnipotence. He could feel the sea of demonic energy flooding into him through the open doors. Kang-woo sighed heatedly. It was only in moments like this, when the doors sealing the demonic sea were opened, that the concept of death disappeared. Kang-woo turned his head and said, Bale. Although the duration he could maintain the demonic sea had increased thanks to his 12th awakening trait, he could still feel his sanity flickering. I'll show you what the real demonic sea looks like. Kang-woo smiled and stared at the incomplete and shabby-looking demonic sea. He couldn't tell before, but he could now tell after opening the second door how pathetic Bale's demonic sea was. As I've thought, Kang-woo chuckled, you're nothing. He was sure of his victory. He could feel the power of the demonic sea spreading from his heart, eating away at his sanity. No, it was more apt to say that it was melting away. Kang-woo slowly raised his hand, and the branch of the corrupted world tree, which fell on the ground after he severed his right arm, floated into the air. Whoosh. Kang-woo grabbed Ingrium wrapped in the flames of veracity. The space around him distorted as he dashed at Bale, reaching him in an instant. He gripped Ingrium tightly and stabbed Bale, who was almost half black mucus. Pierce, arg, Ingrium went straight through Bale. Kang-woo frowned. What was that? Bale was not unable to dodge Kang-woo's attack. Rather, he did not bother dodging. He simply spread his arms widely as if he wanted to be stabbed by Ingrium. Something is. Kang-woo felt uneasy and tried to pull out Ingrium. However, grab Kithai hitty. Bale laughed like a maniac as he clenched Ingrium's blade. Hitty, yeah. I knew you would do that. Bale looked right into Kang-woo's eyes. Yeah, I knew it. After all, you're smart. You're not an idiot. You're. Bale mumbled as if humming. Special. He stretched out his long tongue and licked his lips. He then leaned his head toward Kang-woo. The two demons' eyes locked. I knew you would open a door, said Bale with a smile. What? Kang-woo stared at Bale, unable to understand. Womb. Ingrium began to shine black. Do you know what the role of the world tree is? Bale asked. Kurg. Kang-woo tried to let go of Ingrium, but no matter how hard he tried, his hands did not leave its hilt. Bale continued, it acts as a link between worlds. Then what do you think the role of a corrupted world tree is? Wriggle. The black mucus pouring from Bale's chest and the flames of veracity wrapping Kang-woo connected as one. It's no different, a corrupted world tree. Also acts as a link for something. Oh shit, Kang-woo grimaced. Crush, a colossal hand shot out from Kang-woo's chest. Chapter 510, Forward Crush. A colossal no, something so big that no word could ever describe its size shot out from Kang-woo. Kurg, arg, Kang-woo clenched his chest and writhed in unimaginable pain. Arg, his legs swayed. He could feel something in his heart struggling madly to get out. Something was being broken. It was shattering like dropping a glasswork on the ground. His vision was blurring and he was panting heavily. His heart was not beating properly. The boundless Black Sea was raging and pouring out through the cracked vessel. Hihihihi, Kang-woo could hear Bale's laughter. He was in far too much pain to even think that it was annoyingly loud. This is. He desperately held on to his sanity and forced the pieces of his fragmented mind back together. He looked inside his cracked vessel at last. I can finally get out of this abyss. Kang-woo heard the bellows of the Titan born from the primordial darkness. He crawled out of the abyss of the demonic sea, holding him down, and stood up. The power of the Titan was being transferred from Kang-woo to Bale through the branch of the corrupted world tree linking them. Kihihihihi, so this is it. This is the power of the demon god. Bale burst into uncontrollable laughter. Kang-woo fell to his knees. The black sea of demonic energy with no demon god to hold it together was raging madly. Crack, it's breaking. Kang-woo could feel something that was keeping him intact breaking. Cough, whoosh. The flames of veracity wrapped around him were extinguished. Kang-woo crouched and coughed up black blood. Heh, I'm surprised you're still conscious. Bale looked down at Kang-woo in surprise. I thought you wouldn't be able to handle it and go insane. Barel, mumbled Kang-woo as if he would lose consciousness at any moment. He could tell what Bale did and what happened even while he was rapidly losing his sanity. The demon god jumped from me to Bale. Bali had escaped the abyss of the demonic sea and switched bodies using the link formed between Kang-woo and Bale. Such a thing was only possible because the two of them were both vessels for the demonic sea. Kurg. Kang-woo bit his lip. He could feel the demonic sea inside him falling apart. He clenched his fists. Kang-woo was only able to trap the demon god inside the abyss of the demonic sea because it had been he who was acknowledged as the ruler of the demonic sea, not Bali. But Kang-woo couldn't become the root that held the demonic sea together because he was nothing but a vessel. He was but a puppet made to complete and hold the demonic sea. Kang-woo cursed. He was played. No, he had no other choice but to be played. He had no idea what Ingrium's true role was or that he was a vessel to hold the demonic sea. He did not even imagine that the demon god, who was trapped inside the abyss, would transfer from him to Bale. What should I? His mind was going blank. He frantically thought about a way to resolve this crisis, but cough, Kang-woo coughed up even more black blood. This was probably what chi deviation felt like. The rampaging energy of the demonic sea was tearing him apart from the inside. Demonic energy ran wild uncontrollably like water pouring out of a broken dam. Fu, Kang-woo cursed again. He crouched as he coughed up blood. A single blunder, no, it couldn't be called a blunder. An inevitable disaster destroyed him with no way to resist. Kahiha, it looks like the puppet finally learned its place. Kang-woo heard an elated voice. This vessel is still incomplete, but it can't be helped. Bali, who had entered Bale, clicked his tongue in dissatisfaction. Kahiha, at last, I get my hands on the demonic sea. Heh, Bale smiled. What kind of bullshit are you spewing? What? Hihihi, Bale laughed, his shoulders bouncing up and down. Stay the fuck down. He stared at the collapsed Kang-woo, his eyes filled with madness. He trembled in ecstasy and said, Don't get in my way. Do you have any idea how long I've waited for this moment? Bale stuck out his long tongue and licked his lips. He had waited a long time to see the moment the Demon King break down after he took everything from him. I told you I did, didn't I? I was right. Bale spread his arms wide and shouted madly, Are. Boom, boom, boom. Bale approached Kang-woo, stomping his feet and kicked Kang-woo's head. Bash. Kang-woo tumbled across the ground. HMPH, you are no different from that puppet. The demon god's cold voice echoed inside Bale's head. Do you think I will allow myself to be humiliated twice? The demon god cackled. If you don't accept me, you will also face annihilation as an incomplete vessel. It would have been a different story for Kang-woo since he was complete as a vessel, but Bale was incomplete. He was unable to keep the demonic sea intact without the demon god's help. At this rate, Bale's body would also fall apart like what was happening to Kang-woo and he would die. I don't care, the boy replied brightly with a smile. What I don't care. Bale's gaze was only on Kang-woo as if he couldn't care less about the demon god or death. As long as I can grant you a terrible end. As long as I can throw you into a pit of endless despair. I don't need anything else. Even his own life was of no worth to Bale. Wah, the demon god expressed shock. Oh, Kang-woo and Bale, two of the greatest vessels he had created, were both defying him. Oh, Kang-woo, Bale ignored the demon god's annoying screams and grabbed the collapsed Kang-woo by the collar. Oh Kang-woo, 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 OHKNGW. Bale screamed as if he were desperate. Okay, now admit ITHM, he shouted as if pleading. Admit that I'm not nothing, please, the misery that I endured in the 9HELLS, please don't say that I'm nothing. Am I life, am I existence? Am I desire, please say that they had meaning. Please, 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 acknowledge me. Bale fell into hell on the day of calamity. It was a terrifying and horrific place. Everything there tried to kill and devour him. He had no choice but to become a predator to survive there. He did whatever it took to survive. He struggled wretchedly and desperately. He needed a goal that would extend his survival within the unending despair that was his life. I was chosen. That was what he brainwashed himself to believe as he used the unknown power that was the authority of predation. He continuously told himself that he was chosen and special, which was why this horrifying hell was but a trial. He gritted his teeth and endured. He endured, endured, and endured again. That one sliver of thought extended his life as his body changed the more he devoured demons and as his mind slowly broke. Say it, hurry up and tell me. However, he had not been the special one. He had not been the chosen one. The life he had endured fell apart the moment the Demon King was born. Tell me that my life wasn't meaningless. Fuck off, bitch, answered Kang-woo faintly as he listened to Bale's pathetic screams. He panted heavily and smiled. In the end, you're just a dipshit who can't do anything on his own. Kang-woo continued with a mocking smile. Fucking hell, are you some sort of edgy teen? Kang-woo couldn't even laugh at how pathetic Bale, a 10-millennia-year-old geezer, was still trying to find himself. Your life, your existence, your desire, your life that can't even be acknowledged without someone's approval is nothing. The light in Bale's eyes disappeared. He pulled his hair and crouched. Bale screamed hysterically. OKANGWO. Eyes filled with pure resentment and madness pointed at Kang-woo. Fuck, Kang-woo grimaced. Bash, Kurg, Bale punched Kang-woo, causing him to tumble across the ground. Bash, bash, smash, Kang-woo could feel himself getting trampled on. His ribs broke and his shoulder blades shattered. He could feel his blood flowing out of his torn skin. Kurg, KRRRK, the blood gathered in his throat turned into foam and poured out of his mouth. Forget it, I don't need your pathetic acknowledgement anymore. Bale laughed as if he had completely broken. The kick smashing down on Kang-woo grew stronger. Damn it. Kang-woo's consciousness grew fainter as the violence grew more aggressive. He wanted to do whatever it took to control the demonic energy tearing him apart from the inside, but it was impossible now that the demon god, the pivotal component of the demonic sea, was gone. I have to at least. Kang-woo closed his eyes and focused. Close, the doors. 2 of the 3 doors were open. He needed to close those doors first to have any chance at gaining back control. Crush, Kurg, how does that feel? Stings, doesn't it? Hi, Bale twisted Kang-woo's ankle to an unnatural angle. He then placed one foot on Kang-woo's thigh and tore Kang-woo's foot off with all his might. Rip. Flesh and muscles were visible as clear as day once the skin tore off. Bale grabbed Kang-woo's kneecap and ripped it out. Horrible pain shot up from Kang-woo's leg. This is nothing. He had already become used to the pain of this level through molting and opening the doors. Damn it, Kang-woo gritted his teeth. However, the pain from the demonic energy tearing him apart from the inside hurt far more than Bale's violence. It was as painful as tiny sharp scales circulating through his blood vessels. Pain far worse than that of molting prevented Kang-woo from focusing. He needed time. Now why don't we move on to the other leg? said Bale as he giggled in elation and reached for Kang-woo's left leg. Heavenly Dragon, Sky, just then two voices overlapped with each other. Flash, Breaker, Kim Si-hun and Balrog appeared from each side of Bale. Chapter 511, Forward, Part 2, Boom. A slash infused with enough power to split the world in two pierced Bale's deific essence and cut him from shoulder to stomach. A giant fist smashed through the cracks of the deific essence barrier. Clang. The sound of hammering steel echoed despite having punched someone. Bale was pushed back slightly. What the hell? Bale glared coldly at Kim Si-hun and Balrog. His expression was so stiff that it was hard to believe he was laughing like a madman earlier. KRRRK. Black mucus gurgled and the massive wound on his chest disappeared in a flash. Don't get in my way. Bale gritted his teeth and shouted, don't you dare get in my way. Rumble. The ground Bale was standing on crumbled. The surroundings shook as if an earthquake was happening. Si-hun grimaced. He could barely breathe due to the overwhelming pressure of demonic energy. Balrog. He clenched his sword and turned to Balrog, who threw aside his pendant and returned to his demon form. What? Asked Balrog as he stood between Bale and the collapsed Kang-woo. Run. What? Si-hun lowered his stance and replied, take Hyung Nim and get out of here. Balrog clenched his fists tightly and stepped forward. Nonsense. I will be the one to, you can't stop Bale. Si-hun's cold words pierced Balrog's heart. Balrog's expression stiffened. Bale possessed deific essence. There was no way for Balrog, someone with no deific essence, to stop him. Please take Hyung and run away, Balrog, Si-hun begged as he turned to Balrog. Balrog bit his lip, a sense of powerlessness weighing down on him again. He carefully lifted Kang-woo and said, I'll leave it to you, human. What the fuck? Do you think you're doing? Kang-woo said with a grimace. He ordered anxiously, let go of me right now. Cough, I told you to deal with Bale's army. I am sorry, my king. Balrog looked down at Kang-woo in his arms and said, I will have to disobey your order this one time. Wham. Balrog leaped into the air and sprouted his wings, disappearing into the heart of the city in an instant. Where do you think you're going? Screamed Bale as he charged after them. Si-hun stopped him in his tracks. He gripped his sword tightly and declared, I won't let you through. I told you not to get in my way. Crash. Bale aggressively swung his fist, shooting a cannonball-sized black mucus at Si-hun. Si-hun quickly dodged the attack and fired a wave of sword energy at Bale. Splash. What the? It felt as if he were attacking a liquid. The black mucus wrapped around Bale absorbed the energy. I don't have time to waste on you, mumbled Bale in irritation as he glared at Si-hun standing in his way. Just then, the sound of a staff hitting the ground echoed. Please go, Lord Bale. I will be his opponent. Ammon, who seemed injured based on his tattered robe, stood between Si-hun and Bale. Si-hun's expression froze. He had not expected a third person to join the fray. Shit. There was nothing more despairing than Ammon joining the battle when Si-hun needed to buy as much time as possible for Balrog to run away. I have to stall Bale, whatever it takes. Si-hun charged at Bale with his sword in hand. No you don't, shouted Ammon as he pointed his staff at Si-hun. A thread of demonic energy shot at Si-hun. Kurg, Si-hun quickly swung his sword to cut the thread. Lord Bale. Please hurry and chase after the Demon King, said Ammon, his voice filled with thick desire. Take hold of the primordial, the true demonic sea. Although the demon god had transferred to Bale, he still needed to absorb the Demon King's demonic sea to complete his own. Hihai, Bale cackled, I'll leave things here to you. Si-hun was the only one in Kang-woo's party who could even try to hold Bale off. If he were incapacitated, no one else could get in the way of Bale and Kang-woo's precious time together. Oh, Kang-woo, Bale's eyes shone fiercely as he turned around. The skin of his back split open and wings made of black mucus sprouted from it. He ferociously flapped his wings and flew in the direction where Balrog flew off. No, shouted Si-hun as he stretched out his sword. However, the hunchback demon in his way did not budge. Kekek. Ammon raised his staff, his expression full of greed. He expended a considerable amount of demonic energy blocking the barrage of light rays, but he still had more than enough to face a mere human. Ayaha. Ammon stared at Bale flying further away. The primordial knowledge. Soon he would be able to get his hands on the primordial knowledge that he had wished for all this time. Foolish human. Ammon raised his staff and pointed it at Si-hun. He smashed the staff down and continued, the apocalypse is near. Huff huff, Balrog panted heavily as he flew across Seoul at a speed far past his limit. Balrog, he could hear Kang-woo faintly calling his name. He looked down at Kang-woo and said, please wait just a little longer, my king, I will take you somewhere safe. Let me go, damn it, at this rate, Si-hun. Balrog continued to flap his wings, defying his king's command. I am sorry, my K, H-H-H-H-H-I, the crazed laughter of a boy echoed before Balrog could finish his sentence. What? Balrog's eyes widened. Even if Bale was far more powerful than Si-hun, this was far too soon, bash. Bale caught up to Balrog in an instant and smashed his leg down on him. Arg, tear, one of Balrog's wings was ripped off, sending his gigantic red body hurling down to the ground. Slam. Kurg, Balrog landed on the ground while keeping Kang-woo safe despite one of his wings missing. Cough, cough, Kang-woo vomited black blood. Balrog carefully set Kang-woo down on the ground and glared at Bale. How did you catch up to us so soon? Hihai, the Demon King isn't the only one with subordinates. Balrog frowned. He did not expect any demons to remain who could face Si-hun, who possessed deific essence. Heya, heya, move Balrog. Kang-woo got on his trembling feet with one hand on the ground. He grabbed Balrog's shoulder and yanked him back. I have to face him. His body was falling apart due to the demonic sea's rampage. He was barely holding on to his sanity, which could be devoured at any minute, but he was the only one who was a match for Bale. Go away. Get the fuck out of here, damn it, Kang-woo shouted. Balrog flinched. I told you. You can't protect me, I protect you. Balrog was weak. It would have been a different story if it were Si-hun, but Balrog had no way of protecting Kang-woo. If you stay here, Kang-woo pushed Balrog away with a trembling hand. He continued, his voice sounding like it would die out at any second. You'll die, you fucking muscle pig. Hiha, you're saying something right for once. Bale cackled as he stared at Kang-woo. He then looked to Balrog and said firmly, the Demon King is right, there's nothing you can do here. Balrog was far more insignificant than the human with a sword who had gotten in his way. Move. Bale glared fiercely at Balrog. You are not worthy of being here. He and the Demon King were the chosen ones. There was no place for a pathetic worm like that on their stage. Balrog clenched his fists in silence. He could feel his king's hand on his shoulder. It felt like he was begging Balrog to get away and that he would die if he didn't. My king, stop fucking talking and just screw off, damn it. Kang-woo's eyes shook. Please, please go away, why you're of. No help. Kang-woo, who was trying to yank Balrog back with all his strength, fell to the ground. Cough, Kurg. Kang-woo grabbed his chest and vomited black blood. Balrog looked down at his king. He had no idea how his king ended up this way. Bale. However, he stood between his king and Bale. Your opponent is me, declared the demon without deific essence to the demon with the demon god inside him. Hiha, Bale smiled. Hi. He burst into laughter as he rolled on the ground. My opponent is you. Are you okay in the head? Oh. Come to think of it, you used to be Beelzebub's subordinate, right? Bale trembled ecstatically as if he couldn't be more entertained. Hihihihi, looks like you're gonna lose your king again. Phoo, Balrog exhaled. He looked down at his king on the ground and then back at Bale. I'm surely no match for him. Even Si-hun, who possessed deific essence, could only hope to stall for time against Bale. There was no way Balrog would be a match for that powerful demon. Balrog wondered if things would have been different if he had become Kang-woo's incarnation. No, he shook his head. He still would not have been able to stop Bale since he would not have awakened deific essence on his own like Si-hun. Cough, Balrog, you fucker, get the fuck out of here, please. Balrog could hear his king's faint voice. He closed his eyes. He knew that he was no match for Bale. He knew that he needed to follow his king's order and run away. The king is the one who protects his subordinates. Balrog suddenly recalled his conversation with his king. He chuckled. There's no demon less demon-like than you, my king. You're probably the only demon who would say such a thing. Balrog burst into laughter, his shoulders moving up and down. What the fuck are you laughing about? Hurry up, and you said that the king is the one who protects his subordinates, not the other way around, didn't you? Said Balrog without turning to Kang-woo. But you, my king, you have already protected me countless times. It's time for me to protect you. Now be a good subordinate and follow your king's order, remnant. Bale approached Balrog. I don't have time to waste chatting with you. His power was as boundless as the abyss. Balrog laughed as he faced the Black Sea and took out from his pocket a pouch filled to the brim. That's. Balrog heard his king's anxious voice. Hoop. Balrog emptied the contents of the pouch into his mouth before his king could finish his sentence. Woom, Kurg, the demonic energy inside him ran wild as soon as he ingested the horn powder that temporarily granted the power of deicide. Gurg. It was about 10 times as much compared to what Arakal's subordinates were taking at the time. Immense demonic energy poured out from Balrog. It's not enough. Balrog doubted he could be a match for Bale just by gaining the power of deicide. Even just a little is fine. He did not even think about the possibility of defeating Bale. As long as I can buy enough time for the king to get back on his feet, as long as he could become his king's shield and be devoured in his place, that's all I need. Overlord armor. Balrog summoned his black armor. He looked back at his king, who was reaching out to him with his trembling hands in silence. The characteristic of the Overlord armor is, the more he bled, the more power the armor granted him as it absorbed that blood. In that case, there was only one thing he could do. Balrog slowly reached for his chest. Wah, Balrog could hear his king calling him, possibly because he had a bad feeling. What the fuck are you trying to do, motherfucker? Balrog did not answer. Pierce, his finger dug into the skin of his chest. Kehe, Balrog chuckled. Save the pity show for TV, dickhead. Stop being a bother and fuck off. Balrog went back to his first meeting with his king. He recalled his blunt manner of speech and his eyes. His king had given his life new meaning. He was granted a new desire and a new king to serve. Victory. Balrog closed his eyes and stuck his hand deeper into his chest. Ba-dump, he wrapped his fingers around his beating heart. To my king, Crush, Chapter 512, Forward, Part 3. Oh, Kang-woo heard the chilling and hideous sound of something getting crushed. Balrog, Kang-woo called his subordinate as he was falling apart, TSSSSSSSSS. The black armor absorbed all the blood pouring from Balrog's crushed heart, and enormous amounts of steam poured out of its gaps. Grrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrr pouring blood. It was the only way he had as one without deific essence to face one who did possess it. Kehe, nice, Balrog burst into laughter. He could feel immense power flowing into him from the Overlord armor which absorbed massive amounts of his blood. He felt it was on par with deific essence, no, possibly even stronger than it. The fire in his eyes blazed fiercely at the cost of his life. TSSSSSSSSSSSS. The white steam pouring out from the armor turned black. Heh, what's this? Bale stared at Balrog with great interest. He couldn't help but laugh after Balrog crushed his own heart. He shook his head in disappointment and remarked, "Do you seriously think that will change anything? The result won't change no matter how many times you sacrifice that worthless life of yours." Bale cackled. He stuck out his tongue and slowly walked toward Balrog as he licked his lips. He commanded with his eyes full of madness, "Move." Kehe, Balrog chuckled and continued to stand in Bale's way. Bale frowned fiercely. "Do you seriously think the likes of you can defeat me?" That pathetic being was not the star of this stage. Only those chosen by the demon god to achieve the power of the primordial had the right to be here. "No, I'm sure I will lose," answered Balrog with a smile. Even if Balrog ingested Behemoth's horn powder and powered up as much as he could at the cost of his life, he was still no match for that demon. But Balrog clenched his fists. Just a bit is enough. As long as he could be his king's shield, his king's armor, as long as he could die in his king's place, I'll stand here as many times as it takes. Balrog stood tall as he stood in Bale's way. His massive frame with black armor over it made him look like a massive wall blocking Bale. So annoying. Bale glared at Balrog coldly. Annoying, annoying, annoying. He gritted his teeth and spread out his arms. Black mucus shot at Balrog. Phoo! Balrog took a deep breath and lowered his stance. Boom! Grahhhh! Balrog charged as he roared, burning away his life force. A mere demon without deific essence ran toward the demon with the demon god inside him. TSSSSSSSSS. The black steam pouring out of the armor pushed away the mucus. Balrog clasped his hands together to pierce through the mucus and arrived in front of Bale in a flash. Slam! He put his entire weight on his shoulder and slammed it into Bale's head. Bale's head exploded, but the black mucus gurgled and his head regenerated in an instant. "You pathetic worm!" Bash! Balrog twisted his body and punched Bale's head, causing it to explode again. Crunch, crunch. Kurg! Balrog grimaced. He looked down at his fist that blew Bale's head away and saw that it was covered in black mucus with countless sharp teeth over it. The teeth ground away the Overlord armor. Balrog stared at Bale's head, which instantly regenerated again in silence. This was an unfair battle. No matter how many times he attacked, Bale would regenerate in a flash. No, Bale wasn't just regenerating. Balrog was the one who would continuously get injured just by attacking. "Kehehe," Balrog chuckled. "Very nice." He was smiling even as sharp teeth were grinding apart his armor and biting off his skin under it. "I get to train with an indestructible dummy." Balrog continued to swing his fists ferociously as he laughed heartily. There was no refined technique or feints to fool the opponent. He was just pouring stupidly pure violence like rainfall. Bash, smash, crush. Bale turned into mush as he went through a cycle of destruction and instant regeneration. "You bastard, enough of bash." Balrog destroyed Bale's head again. Hoop! Balrog grabbed Bale's leg. Hiya! Bang, bang, bang. He smashed Bale down on the ground repeatedly. However, Bale would not receive damage from colliding against the ground due to his deific essence barrier. Bash! Balrog let go of Bale's leg and kicked him with all his might, sending Bale flying like a football and causing him to tumble across the ground. Wriggle! Bale's mangled body regenerated in a flash again. "You!" Bale slurred in irritation. He shouted, "How dare you, pathetic worm!" Wriggle! Bale fiercely swung his arm, and black mucus surged at Balrog like a wave along the path of Bale's swing. Balrog quickly jumped to the side to dodge, but crunch! Gaia! The black mucus devoured his left arm from the shoulder down. The Overlord armor soaked in blood was nothing but scrap metal before Bale's teeth. Blood poured from his torn left arm. "Kehehe," Balrog chuckled. "Yeah, the more blood the better." The black armor absorbed the blood pouring from his left arm. TSSSSSSSSS. Black steam burst from the Overlord armor. Raya, Balrog stomped his foot with all his might. The black steam pouring from the armor gathered into a single point and Balrog placed his right hand on it. Rumble. The black steam stormed around his right arm. Balrog smiled and said, "Right then, I'll do as much as I can while I still have an arm." Boom, 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 the ground shook with each step Balrog took. He who had drawn out power far past his limits charged at Bale. Sky. He twisted his torso, lowered his stance, and pulled back his right arm as far as he could. Wham, he smashed his foot on the ground, causing it to cave in. He swung his fist at the boundless sea with all his might. Breaker, Bo. Bale quickly stretched out his arms and protected himself with black mucus, but Balrog's arm, which was wrapped in a storm of black steam, pierced through the mucus and smashed right into Bale. Smash, Bale's limbs were ripped into pieces and he was blown away several hundred meters. Crunch, Gaya. However, the black mucus devoured Balrog's right arm, leaving him with no arms. Keh. He chuckled as he staggered toward where Bale was blown away. Ayarg, Bale groaned. Wriggle. His broken body began to regenerate, but not as perfectly as before. His limbs were positioned abnormally as if pieces of a puzzle were forced into the wrong positions. Shit, 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 shit. Bale yelled angrily as he glared at Balrog, who was walking toward him with no arms. What's with you? What the fuck are you? A pathetic, insignificant insect was interfering with the time he had with the Demon King, which he had dreamed of for so long. Kehe, you're so noisy for a damn brat. Balrog was still smiling leisurely despite missing both of his arms. Bale frowned angrily and charged at Balrog, closing a distance of several hundred meters in an instant and swung at him with his fist. Slam! Balrog raised his right leg to block Bale's punch. TSSSSSSSSSSSSSS, the black steam pouring out of his back lifted him. He twirled in the air and kicked Bale's head. Kurg, Bale tumbled across the ground disgracefully. Son of a bitch, Bale spread out his arms widely as he roared, forming a giant mouth that could easily swallow Balrog whole. Sharp teeth sunk into Balrog's flank and bit the entire area off. Crunch, Kurg, the black armor shattered. A third of Balrog's upper body was gone, blood and intestines pouring out from the torn area. He collapsed. Fu, why is a nobody like you even getting in my way? Bale frowned and clicked his tongue. He walked past Balrog on the ground and toward Kang-woo. Where do you think you're going? Balrog stood up as black blood and intestines poured out of him. He smiled widely and glared at Bale with blazing eyes. I'm still standing here? Ha, Bale chuckled. The insect, having lost both of his arms, almost half of his upper body, and no heart, was still in his way. Fine, if you want to die so badly, muttered Bale as he turned from Kang-woo to Balrog and glared at him. I'll kill you. Bale gritted his teeth and charged at Balrog. The nobody was already so injured that it was a miracle he was still alive. It would be a piece of cake to extinguish the tiny ember of life that was keeping him alive. Heh, hee, Balrog chuckled. He lowered his stance and infused all of his demonic energy into the black armor soaked in his blood. Bring it. He opened his eyes wide and stared right at death charging at him. TSSSSSSSSSS, black steam burst out of him. Clank, clank, Balrog could hear the sound of cogs interlocking inside the armor. The Overlord armor, being infused with power far past its limits, swelled like a balloon. Bo. A giant explosion swept away everything in the surroundings. The black armor shattered into fragments and flew all over the place. Arrgggh, Bale was blown away, getting swept into the explosion. His upper body was burnt to a crisp and was hideously deformed. Arg, Bale embraced himself and trembled. It hurts, it hurts, it hurts, it hurts, ithurts. Any injuries he suffered were supposed to regenerate in a flash, but these injuries weren't. Bale screamed and writhed in pain. Pus was oozing from his hideous wounds. Wriggle, his injuries were slowly regenerating, but the speed was far slower than normal. Kaha, at least. Balrog looked down at the screaming Bale and fell to his knees. I managed to give him a good one. He smiled and collapsed on his back. He could see a clear blue sky unlike in hell. He turned his head. My king. He could see Kang-woo crawling his way. Balrog's vision grew blurry and he closed his eyes. Balrog, you motherfucker. The demonic energy pouring from the demonic sea was still tearing him apart, but he managed to prevent his sanity from getting devoured after quelling the demonic energy to an extent while Bale was busy fighting Balrog. Heya, Balrog. Kang-woo placed his hand on Balrog as he panted heavily. Answer me, he shook Balrog. Answer me, damn it. Kehe, I'm not dead yet, my king. Balrog slowly opened his eyes and looked up at his king. Kang-woo's expression filled with relief. Heya, just you. Wait, damn it, you're fucking in for it once this is over. Kang-woo bit open his finger as he cursed, black blood pouring out of it. Balrog looked at Kang-woo regretfully. My king, it's not too late. It is my king. No, it's fucking not. Boom, Kang-woo slammed his fist on the ground. Balrog smiled faintly as he stared at Kang-woo. What the fuck are you smiling for? Kang-woo's shoulders shook. Fuck, it's not too late. Tears flowed down his cheeks and gathered on his chin. You can still live, hey. This isn't the first time something like this has happened. Remember, you were in just as bad a state when you fought against Lucifer. Don't you remember me saving you back then? I can save you, I can so. Kang-woo moved his trembling hand and poured blood into his mouth. He suppressed his raging demonic energy and activated the authority of regeneration, but… My king, what the fuck, why aren't your injuries healing? Give me a second, I'll try again. Crunch, he bit open another finger. No, he bit off his entire hand this time and made a fountain of black blood. Drink. Hurry up and drink. My king. Just shut the fuck up and drink the damn things, Kang-woo screamed as if begging. Haya, haya, Kang-woo panted heavily and lowered his head. He said faintly, don't die, please don't fucking die. Balrog remained silent. Kang-woo could see the light in Balrog's eyes disappearing. I don't know. Kang-woo wept as he watched the light fading from Balrog's eyes. I don't fucking know what I'm supposed to do anymore. The demonic energy from the demonic sea was destroying his body even at this moment. He was in extreme pain just from using the authority of regeneration. Kang-woo had become pathetically weak after becoming unable to use the demonic sea. Keh, I guess after a millennium together, I get to see this kind of side to you, Balrog chuckled faintly. You can just do as you have always done. What, you told me when we first met, Balrog smiled, that you didn't give a fuck about the demons of the ninth hell or the princes of hell. It did not change what Kang-woo had to do. Forward, forward thud, Balrog's head fell to the side. Huh, Kang-woo's eyes widened. Hey, Balrog, he shook Balrog but there was no response. Hey, answer me, he turned Balrog's head toward him. Answer me, his half-open eyes no longer carried any life in them. Please, please answer me, Kang-woo trembled. Ah, he slowly turned his head. Erg. Finally done regenerating. He saw Bale standing up with a frown. Is that son of a bitch finally dead? Kang-woo stood up as his legs shook. Balrog. He looked down at Balrog's corpse with deeply sunken eyes and recalled his dying words. Okay, Kang-woo finally understood what it was he needed to do. Forward. To climb higher to a place no one could ever reach. Haya, Kang-woo exhaled deeply. He placed his shaking hand over his heart. Chapter 513, Open, Part 1. Hi, Bale giggled as he stared at Kang-woo. His scleras were black, his irises were yellow, and his pupils were stretched horizontally. They were characteristics that appeared when the Demon King, who usually looked human, was enraged. What, are you angry? Are you angry because you lost your precious subordinate? Bale snickered as if he couldn't be more entertained. Seeing a side of the Demon King, which he did not show even after losing the Demon God and becoming unable to use the demonic sea, elated him more than ever before. I didn't think you treasured Balrog this much, said Bale as he licked his lips. He knew that the Demon King treasured his subordinates but did not expect him to break down this much. He did not expect the Demon King to crawl on the ground as he wept like a baby. Bale hummed regretfully. If I knew you'd break down this much, I would have killed that human before I chased after you. Kim Si-hun, was it? Bale was thrilled to no end just thinking about the Demon King's expression if he had done that. Kang-woo remained silent. He looked down at Balrog's corpse. Boundless fury took control of him. His head was getting hot and his vision was blurring. He wanted nothing more than to charge at Bale right this second. You're angry, aren't you? You can't hold back your rage, can you? But Bale smiled. There's nothing you can do. Bale was not afraid of a puppet without a puppeteer, a broken vessel, no matter how angry he got. Is that what you think? Asked Kang-woo as he swayed. Do you really think there's nothing I can do? Bale tilted his head in confusion. The Demon King was far calmer than Bale had hoped. You're not angry. He thought the Demon King would be angry based on his black eyes. He thought the Demon King would lose his sanity and go on a crazed rampage. Why are you so calm? Bale stared at Kang-woo, unable to understand. I am angry, Kang-woo answered calmly. I'm so angry that I feel like I'll go insane at any second. But you see, Kang-woo stared at Bale coldly. Life isn't a drama. It wasn't a comic or a novel. Going on a crazed rampage did not grant one illogical power that defied the law of causality. Reality isn't that forgiving. No one powered up just by screaming in rage after losing their comrade. Kang-woo had never won so easily and conveniently. He had abandoned everything and crawled pathetically and wretchedly to win. That was the only way he could win. So what are you gonna do? Asked Bale with a smile. The battle was already won after the demon god transferred to him. Kang-woo couldn't control the demonic sea without the demon god. He did not have anything close to the power needed to rebel against this despair. How are you planning to kill me? Asked Bale mockingly. Kang-woo looked down at his chest, the sea of demonic energy inside his heart in silence. Waves of demonic energy were flooding into him through the two open doors. If you don't close those doors, you'll soon be devoured by the demonic sea, Bale cackled. Or why don't you just let yourself be devoured? He stuck out his tongue and continued with shining eyes, so you can kill your precious remaining subordinates with your own hands. Bale cackled even more. Now you should get to closing those doors, huh? Kang-woo stared at Bale coldly and answered, I won't. I won't close them. Kang-woo staggered as he thought about the thing he needed to do, which Balrog had allowed him to realize. I won't close them. There was no way to surpass Bale by desperately trying to close the two doors and bringing the demonic energy to his control. If Bale is insane, the only way I can defeat him is to become even more insane. What? Bale's expression crumpled. He won't close the doors. If Kang-woo didn't close the doors sealing the demonic sea, he would be devoured by the power of the demonic sea and be annihilated. His sanity would burn away and his intelligence would vanish. There was no other way to stop the demonic sea's encroachment than to close the doors. Despite that, he won't close them. What are you trying to do? Asked Bale, a sense of uneasiness running down his back. You said I was a vessel to hold the demonic sea, didn't you? Kang-woo smiled. As a vessel, he was broken after the demon god left him and was breaking even more by the second. In that case, Kang-woo could no longer stay as a vessel to hold the demonic sea now that the demon god, the one keeping the sea of demonic energy together, was gone. If being a vessel isn't good enough. If he couldn't climb to greater heights as a vessel, he would just destroy the vessel entirely. I'll just devour the demonic sea, Kang-woo snickered. What? Bale's eyes shook, devouring the demonic sea. The boundless sea of demonic energy, the primordial darkness. What are you talking about? Asked Bale, his voice trembling. Hi, are you saying nonsense like that because you still don't understand what you've been reduced to? Bale laughed in exasperation. He gritted his teeth and shouted, not special anymore. Now that the demon god, the one who created and chose Kang-woo, had transferred to Bale, Kang-woo was no longer special. He was but a broken vessel who possessed the demonic sea. Heya, Bale panted, at least that was supposed to be the case. What the hell, why am I getting such a bad feeling? Bale thought, stop him. Just then the demon god's voice, trembling as if he were terrified, echoed inside Bale's head. What? Bale tilted his head in confusion. Stop that damn lunatic! Bale frowned fiercely as the demon god, whom he had been ignoring until now, screamed desperately. What the hell is so wrong? Bale couldn't understand why Bali was acting this way just from the demon king's bluff of devouring the demonic sea. He's thinking of unleashing the abyss. The place where the demon god was imprisoned, the deepest point of the demonic sea where not even a titan, a creator of worlds, could escape from. What do you mean? Bale had no idea what Bali was talking about. The demon god's anxious voice echoed inside his head. The door, it's about to open. The third door is about to open. Bale turned to Kang-woo. Heya, Kang-woo took a deep breath, closed his eyes and looked inside his consciousness. The sea of demonic energy was flooding out of the two open doors. However, it was only the sea's surface. The deepest point of the demonic sea was not coming out of the two doors as if it were blocked by something. Now, Kang-woo walked along the raging sea of demonic energy. He looked down at the boundless darkness underneath. To devour this, he needed to pull out everything in the sea of demonic energy. He had no choice but to walk into the abyss where the demon god was imprisoned on his own. Kang-woo walked through the raging sea of demonic energy and saw the three doors sealing the demonic sea. He focused on the third unopened door, the door that seals the deepest point of the demonic sea. Kang-woo reached for the door. His hand suddenly stopped in its tracks. He had only ever opened two doors of the 10,000 demon core. If he opened this door, there was no turning back. He would never be able to close the doors again. Once the abyss began to flood through the door, it would devour everything in its path. Kang-woo wondered if he could handle the abyss, which even a titan was powerless against. Would he be able to devour and bring it under his control? Kang-woo felt helpless. He was filled with hesitation as his hands were just a few centimeters from the handle. Opening the final door in a situation like this was like pouring gasoline on oneself after they caught fire. If he failed and was devoured by the abyss instead, he would lose everything. His teeth clacked together, his fingers were trembling, he bit his lip and lowered his head. It's so heavy. The weight on Kang-woo's shoulders. The eyes full of hope gazing at him, they were all too heavy for him to bear. He could barely take a step forward under all the weight. You can just do as you have always done. Balrog's voice suddenly echoed inside his head. You told me when we first met, his faint dying words. Fucking hell, Kang-woo chuckled. His hands, which had been frozen, gripped the handle of the third door. Forward, higher, forward, to even greater heights. Forward, to a place no one can ever reach. Creak. Kang-woo swung open the door without hesitation. All conditions for transcendent deific essence have been fulfilled, breaking all level caps. Blue windows appeared in front of Kang-woo. He closed his eyes. An incantation, the one filled with static that he saw before his battle against Bale, flowed into his mind. I see. This incantation was the key required to open the third door, which was why Kang-woo, who did not have the heart to open the third door at the time, was unable to see it. Grrrk, Slushy stretched and wrapped around Kang-woo. The key of the demonic sea on his right middle finger moved to Kang-woo's chest and disappeared. Clank, clank, the sound of cogs interlocking echoed. The key of the demonic sea entered the keyhole of the third door located at the center of the 10,000 demon core. The key slowly turned. Kang-woo slowly raised his head and stared at Bale. "Stop!" shouted Bale as he ran toward Kang-woo. Whoosh, Kurg, gold and black flames blew Bale away. The flames around Kang-woo spread and formed a black sun behind him. Ah, Bale's eyes widened. The black sun, formed by gold mixed with the darkness, looked like a giant door. Kang-woo walked as he swayed from side to side and stood in front of the door made of the flames of veracity. "Ye who pass me," Kang-woo chanted. "To the city of grief." Whoosh, the flames of veracity wrapped around him. "Ye who pass me." He slowly placed his right hand over his heart. "To eternal suffering." Countless red eyes glinted from beyond the door, blazing like a black sun. "Ye who pass me to the land of the dead." The souls of boundless evil which had been trapped in the abyss were unleashed. "Malice dyes the sea black, creating me with endless desires. Only those eternal may precede me, for I am eternal." "Ye who pass through, abandon all hope." 10,000 Demon Core, all doors open. Chapter 514, Open, Part 2, Creek. The third door, sealing the deepest point of the demonic sea, was opened. Bale's eyes widened. He could see countless red eyes inside the black sun behind Kang-woo. He said tremblingly, "What the hell?" Chills ran down his back and his teeth clacked together. "What the hell are those?" he asked the demon god trapped inside his heart. And no, the demon god's despaired voice echoed inside Bale's head. The abyss has been unleashed. The door to the deepest point of the demonic sea, the link to the primordial darkness, was opened. "Damn it, do something, you're the one who created it," shouted Bale as he trembled. The countless red eyes in the blazing black sun were staring at him. Bale's teeth clacked and he could barely breathe. He could only feel a void, as if he was facing a horrible nightmare. He felt as if he were being sucked into an endless void. I can't, what? I made the third door so that it couldn't be opened. From the moment I discovered the seed of the demonic sea and created the vessels to hold it, I sealed the third door so that it could never be opened. However, the door that was impossible to open was open in front of their very eyes. "What are you talking about? It's open right there." "Shit, I don't know either." The demon god had no idea how a mere vessel managed to open the third door, but he was sure of one thing. Once the abyss was unleashed, no one could control the demonic sea. At this rate, we will all be devoured by the demonic sea. There would be no winners or losers. Now that the abyss was unleashed, no one could have the demonic sea. There was no way to contain the demonic sea with no vessel to hold it. Everything will be devoured by the demonic sea, the triad, the satellite worlds around it, and the 9 hells. All worlds would be engulfed by the power of the demonic sea. All life forms would be trapped within the abyss, including the demon god who created it. Damn it, the demon god cursed. He had not killed Kang-woo in the world of his consciousness because he needed to prevent the vessel from breaking and the demonic sea from running out of control like it was now. That lunatic. However, the vessel made to hold the demonic sea had unleashed the abyss. The vessel broke itself and caused the demonic sea to go out of control. What should we do?" Bale asked tremblingly. He had resolved himself for death before battling the Demon King, but this was not the end he wanted. He did not want to die without proving anything or being acknowledged by anyone. "Accept my power." Bale's gaze wavered. If he accepted the demon god's power, he would be handing his body to the demon god. He would never be able to get his revenge against the Demon King. "That's shit. There is no time to hesitate." The demon god's screams echoed inside his head. "I swear on my deific essence that I will not tamper with your consciousness." The demon god even gave up on his resurrection. After all, his resurrection would be pointless if he left the abyss to be fully unleashed. "Hurry up and accept my power." Bale bit his lip anxiously. "Fine." He closed his eyes and accepted the demon god's power. Rumble. Unfathomable demonic energy surged from Bale. Bale exhaled heatedly. "So this is the power of a titan." A sense of omnipotence spread across him. He felt like everything was beneath him. They felt pathetic. Bale giggled. "Yeah, with this, I think I can do it." He had a feeling that he could win even against the abyss of the demonic sea with this power. "Is that so?" Kang-woo asked as he stared at Bale with a smile. Bale's eyes widened. How are you still conscious?" Bale stared at Kang-woo, whose ego was still intact even after opening the third door, in disbelief. "Who knows? I'm not sure." Either, Kang-woo stammered as he swayed from side to side. Arg. Kang-woo clenched his head and crouched. He could feel the sea of demonic energy pouring out of the 3 doors, trying to devour his sanity. "Not yet," Kang-woo gritted his teeth. He couldn't lose consciousness yet. He still had something he needed to do. "My king," Balrog's dying words and how the light slowly disappeared from his eyes were engraved in his mind. His unfathomable rage resisted the demonic sea's takeover. He hummed Bale, 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 Bale. Only one desire was blazing within his collapsing consciousness. I still have something I need to do. I have to." He needed to kill Bale and then, Keh, Kang-woo cackled. He stood up as the Black Sea raged around him. He would likely not be able to maintain his sanity for long. The abyss of the demonic sea was rapidly eating away at his sanity even at this moment. Balrog. Kang-woo clenched his jaw. His consciousness was collapsing. He could barely remember what he was trying to do, what he needed to do. Or even who he was, however. I'll. Kang-woo staggered forward and looked down at the corpse of Balrog, a demon who had always protected him by his side and fought alongside him. A subordinate, a comrade, and a friend. I'll remember you. I will never forget you, no matter what happens. Even if I'm devoured by this Black Sea, even if I'm forever trapped inside the abyss, I will do whatever it takes to remember at least you. Heya. Kang-woo held on to his fading consciousness for dear life. He raised his head and looked around. He couldn't help but chuckle. Crack, crack. Demons with red eyes were walking out from the door made from the black sun behind him. Oriax. He was the first demon whom he met on Earth. Phoenix Malphas Halphas. They were Lucifer's subordinates who attacked Kim Si-hun in South America. Mammon, Lucifer, Belphegor. They were the princes of hell whom Kang-woo devoured. Satan wasn't among them for some reason, but Kang-woo did not have the brain capacity at the moment to think about that. And Kang-woo slowly looked around at the immense number of demons who walked out from the abyss of the demonic sea. Demons from the first hell to the ninth hell, the constellations of evil and even those with deific essence. The demons whom Kang-woo devoured until now were walking out of the abyss. I sure have. Eaten a lot, Kang-woo cackled as he looked at the demons who filled the skies of Seoul in an instant. The demons who came out from the abyss stared at Kang-woo, their eyes as lifeless as a puppet as if they were waiting to be commanded. Kang-woo smiled, I guess. Kang-woo could tell whose commands they were waiting for even when he was being devoured by the demonic sea. I'm still the ruler. He was about to lose his sanity at any second, but he was still the ruler of the demonic sea. In that case, Kang-woo turned to look at the heavily panting Bale. Do you seriously believe these numbers have any meaning against me? Bale asked as he gritted his teeth. However, his voice was shaking anxiously, unlike his expression filled with confidence. Kang-woo walked toward him. Boom! Vibrations shook the entire city. Hundreds of thousands of demons who walked out of the abyss stared at Kang-woo. Kang-woo slowly raised his hand and commanded, tear him apart. Rumble, the demons of the demonic sea who had been awaiting orders simultaneously charged at Bale. Their numbers made them look like a tsunami. Bale cackled and shouted, I told you, numbers are meaningless against me. Enormous amounts of demonic energy infused with the demon god's power surged from him. Crack, Bale stretched out his right arm. The skin of his arm split open from the shoulder down and poured out of it a giant pillar of demonic energy, which then gradually took the shape of an arm several kilometers long. The colossal arm of a titan wiped out the demons. Crack, crunch, the sight was extraordinary to behold. The demons hit by the demon god's arm were blown to bits. It did not matter whether they were from the first or ninth hell or if they were princes of hell. They were equally squashed like insects. Bale laughed crazily. He fiercely swung the demon god's arm as he shouted, I told you, numbers are meaningless against me. Demons could defeat him, whether there were hundreds, thousands, or even millions of them. Yes, this is it, said Bale as he relished in his omnipotence. I can pull it off with this power. He could defeat the demons crawling out of the abyss as well as the demon king who had opened all three doors. Bale cackled as he swung the demon god's arm all over the place. The entire city was falling apart. Even Bale's army was getting caught in the destruction, but he did not care. He no longer needed an army. Numbers were pointless before the power of a titan. I have become special, Bale screamed crazily. Heya, he panted heavily after swinging the demon god's arm some more. Using the power of a titan consumed an extraordinary level of mental strength. Now, you're all that's left. Bale smiled as he stared at Kang-woo. Every demon of the abyss was wiped out by the power of a titan. Only the demon king remained. I'm all that's left, you say? Kang-woo chuckled even as his sanity was falling apart. Why don't you take another look, Squelch? Bale heard something sticky moving. Bale's expression froze. The demons of the abyss, which Bale had wiped out with the demon god's arm, were reforming as if time was rewinding. Black mucus bubbled as it gathered together to form the demons again. What the hell? Bale's teeth clacked together. They're all immortal. The hundreds of thousands of demons, enough to cover the entire sky above Seoul, were regenerating as if they had opened a door of the 10,000 demon core. That's bullshit. Don't make me laugh. There was no way to defeat an army of immortal demons numbering hundreds of thousands. Now time for round 2, gurgle, the demons made of black mucus fully regenerated. The immortal army of the abyss fiercely bared their teeth. Kang-woo staggered forward. I am, he muttered as he hung onto his sanity and cackled. The cavalry motherfucker, GRA. The immortal army charged at Bale once again. Chapter 515, Open, Part 3, Rumble, the earth shook as endless destruction ensued. Thousands of demons were obliterated with every swing from the right arm of a titan sprouted from Baal's shoulder. Heya, however, no matter how many he killed, fuck, no matter how many he burst and mangled, fuck, it did not end. As if he were trapped in a nightmare he couldn't wake from, the demons of the abyss continued to charge at him without knowing death. Why, Baal screamed as he restlessly swung his arm. You're. He gritted his teeth and glared at Kang-woo resentfully. No longer special. Kang-woo was abandoned by the demon god, his creator. Hence, his life, desire, and existence were no longer special. So he should have become the same as how Baal used to be. He should have felt that his wretched life of crawling from the first to ninth hell had been meaningless. He should no longer be special. Why aren't you breaking? Kang-woo had opened the third door. He unleashed the abyss by destroying the vessel that was himself. It was only natural that he would break. It was only natural that his consciousness would burn to a crisp and be taken over by the demonic sea the moment he unleashed the abyss. Why are you still standing? Kang-woo stood tall despite swaying as if he would collapse at any second. Just like Balrog had, Hihai, didn't you see with your own eyes what happened to that muscle pig? Kang-woo walked forward in silence. He staggered as if he would fall at any moment, but he did not stop, he did not back down. He took one step forward at a time. Stay away from me. Baal took a step back as he convulsed, but he couldn't even retreat due to the countless number of demons charging at him from all directions. Shit, he shouted as he swung the Titan's arm. Countless demons were wiped out from just a swing. Baal stared at Kang-woo again and raised the Titan's right arm. I told you. To stay away, the colossal arm, several kilometers long, swung at Kang-woo. Thump, however, Kang-woo slightly raised his hand and blocked the Titan's arm. Baal's eyes widened. He stepped backward in disbelief. He would have understood it if Kang-woo had regenerated after bursting into pieces from getting smashed by the arm, but he stopped the power of the demon god head-on. How did you? Muttered Baal tremblingly. I told you. The sight of a man the size of a human blocking with one hand, the arm of a titan that looked several 100,000 times heavier than him, was highly unnatural. Your existence, and your life that constantly requires validation, is nothing. Boom, Kang-woo added more strength to his arm. He dug his feet into the ground and gripped the titan's arm tightly. Hoop, he then lifted the titan's arm. What the? Baal shouted in shock. It was as if an ant had lifted a human's arm. It was a sight so unbelievable that it looked like a comedy. Baal, Kang-woo smiled as he lifted the Titan's right arm. I'm not special. Because I had the demon god. It was because he was a monster with the desires of a human. It was because he desired the demonic sea despite being a vessel. It was because he never stopped. It was because of those things that he was standing here today. Split. Kang-woo opened his mouth. At the same time, the flames that were wrapped around him spread like a tent. Whoosh. The gold and black flames of veracity danced and gathered in one place, creating a mouth large enough to devour the Titan's arm whole. Authority of Predation. The authority that he had ever since he fell into hell. No, from the moment he was created by the demon god as a vessel to hold the demonic sea mixed with the flames of veracity. Baal groaned. He raised his head and looked up at the ferociously blazing mouth. The open mouth made of gold and black flames large enough to devour a Titan's arm reminded him of a black sun. Baal heard the demon god's groans inside his head. It was never me. The demon god looked up at the black sun in terror. The demon of prophecy, the master of the demonic sea, it had never been him but the vessel he had created. It had been the pathetic puppet that should have been nothing. Crunch, the black sun ate Baal whole. The titan of myths and the demon who accepted his power were devoured by the boundless abyss. The demons freed from the abyss stopped moving once Baal was dead. An abnormal sense of silence fell on the battlefield that had been filled with screams and destruction. Kang-woo staggered. Kang-woo, just then he heard a woman's voice. It was a woman with 12 bright wings on her back. Kang-woo slowly turned to the woman. Are you all right, Kang-woo? Yelled Han Xiala as she approached the staggering Kang-woo. It was obvious from one look that he wasn't fine. Hey, Kang-woo, you're not dead, are you? Cha Yeonju was running to him as well behind Xiala. She supported the staggering Kang-woo and asked, that aside, what are these demons? It was an army of evil so massive that it killed one's spirits just by seeing them. Yeonju could tell that the demons were summoned by Kang-woo from the fact that they weren't moving, but she felt like she was suffocating from the pressure nonetheless. These are the demons that Master Kang-woo has devoured until now, answered Lilith as she looked around. She did not recognize all of them, but she could see a few familiar faces. She smiled faintly and continued in relief. I'm not sure what exactly happened, but you won. Lilith was well aware that this war would be decided by who between Baal and Kang-woo would emerge victorious. Kang-woo had defeated Baal, so it was no exaggeration to say that the war was over. At last, The long and desperate war had come to an end. It had lasted over 10 millennia in Kang-woo's perspective. Wait, just then Yeonju, who had been supporting Kang-woo, saw someone collapsed on the ground. It was the corpse of a demon with bulging red muscles. Ah, Yeonju expressed grief. Seala and Lilith looked in the direction that Yeonju was looking at, and their expressions turned somber. Kang-woo, Seala muttered as she teared up. Although she didn't know everything that Kang-woo went through in hell, she knew what Balrog meant to Kang-woo just from their interactions. Silence fell again. It was only natural after finding out one of their precious comrades died in the war. Kang-woo, Yeonju slightly pulled away from Kang-woo and grabbed his arms. She asked, "Are you okay, Aarg?" Kang-woo slowly raised his head and looked around with blank eyes. He tilted his head in wonder and asked, "Who are you all? What?" Yeonju's eyes shook. Aarg? Kang-woo pulled his hair and stepped backward. He could feel his consciousness burning away. He was getting taken over by the abyss pouring out of the door. Who? His vision was blurring. He was so dizzy that he felt like vomiting. Am I? He looked around and only saw unfamiliar faces. People whom he had never met before were shouting things at him, but he couldn't hear what they were saying. It did not feel real, as if he were looking through a screen. Balrog, one name was clear in his mind as his consciousness was fading. Why? He did not remember why he could remember the name Balrog. He swayed and fell to his knees. Mr. Balrog is, the woman with white wings on her back stammered. Kang-woo paid no attention to her. Ah, he saw a corpse on the ground. It was the corpse of a demon covered in red muscles, the lifeless gaze of the corpse with no arms pointed at him. Tears flowed down Kang-woo's cheeks, but he did not understand why he was crying. Everything felt unfamiliar to him. He did not remember who or what he was. He felt like he was melting away. Kang-woo, hey, oh Kang-woo, get a hold of yourself. He could hear the women yelling at him, but he did not know who this oh Kang-woo they were yelling for was. Wriggle, he was sinking into the deep darkness. Toward the bottom of the endless abyss. He reached upward to get out, but he did not know why he was reaching his arms out. I have to get out of here. He paddled his feet and twisted his body with everything he had. He did not know why, but he had a feeling that he shouldn't melt away. I still have something I need to. His consciousness was melting away. His vision flickered, his sense of reason was vaporized, and his intelligence was burning away. What did I need to do again? He did not remember. Balrog. That name was the only thing he could remember. Then his consciousness vanished. Grrrrrrrrrrrk. Kang-woo, run Seala, Lilith shouted as she quickly grabbed Seala's shoulder. Let go, Kang-woo is. We have to get out of here first, hurry. Lilith looked around in pallor. The millions of demons that seemed to have been summoned by Kang-woo melted down and turned into black mucus. Black mucus poured out of the burning black sun above the sky. NGH. It looked as if a hole was made in the sky and a black waterfall was pouring out of it. Lilith bit her lip as chills ran down her spine. Master Kang-woo, she raised her head anxiously. Black mucus flowed out from Kang-woo's eyes as he stood blankly. No, it was not just the eyes. Black mucus poured out of his mouth, nose, and ears like blood. He was then completely immersed in the black mucus and disappeared. As if he had been devoured. No. Seala extended her arm in pallor. Lilith shut her eyes tightly and pulled Seala toward her. Her long black hair floated in the air as if they were alive. We have to run away. Yes. Now, Lilith wrapped the blank-faced Yeonju and Seala with her black hair and ran. Grrrrrrrrrrrrk. A wave of black mucus then began to engulf everything in its path like a tsunami. Chapter 516, Miracle Part 1, Grrrrrrrrrrrrrk. A tsunami of black mucus spread and voraciously devoured everything in its path. The Black Sea grew larger at an extraordinary rate as if it were trying to devour the entire world. All forces evacuate, shouted Layla, who was commanding guardians in Kim Si-hun's place. A black tsunami suddenly appeared as they were in the middle of a fierce battle against Baal's army. It did not take long for Layla to judge that they needed to stop the battle and run from the calamity that looked as if it would devour everything in its path. What in the world is that? Layla stared at the black tsunami in shock. Black mucus was endlessly pouring out from a black sun made of gold and black flames that had risen above Seoul. Those flames were the unique color scheme of one of Oh Kang-woo's main techniques. Layla bit her lip anxiously. An inexplicable sense of uneasiness ran down her back. Please. Layla prayed with her hands clasped together, let there be a miracle to stop the apocalypse. Please wait, Lilith. Seala shouted hastily as she was getting pulled by Lilith, who was running away from the range of the black tsunami with her hair. Lilith firmly replied, there is no time to dawdle. She could tell just from the black tsunami devouring everything in its path that Kang-woo was not in a normal state. At this rate, Kang-woo would end up killing his loved ones with his own hands. Lilith bit her lip. If anything were to happen to you, she recalled what she had said to Kang-woo in the past. I'll stop you, my king. Lilith shut her eyes tightly. She realized how arrogant the words she had spouted were. What should I? Lilith's voice shook. She couldn't even begin to figure out how to stop Kang-woo in that state. My king, Lilith turned around and looked at the black tsunami quickly devouring everything in its path. Inside that tsunami was her king, her love. There was Kang-woo who was screaming in pain and agony. She recalled Kang-woo. She recalled his gentle hands and his warmth. Tears welled around her eyes. Yes, Lilith clenched her fists as if she had come to a resolution. I made a promise. She had promised that she would stop Kang-woo if anything were to happen to him. In that case, there was only one thing she could do. She stopped in her tracks. Lilith, what's wrong? Lilith put down Seala and Yeonju and said, both of you go on ahead. What the hell are you talking ob? There is something I must do. Lilith looked back at the black sun, her eyes filled with conviction. Yeonju frowned. What are you gonna do? Do you know a way to bring Kang-woo back? She clenched her fists and continued, if you do, I'll help. No, let me do it. Lilith bit her lip. You can't do it. I can't. Yes, this is something only I can do. What the hell is it then? Yeonju shouted in frustration. Lilith's lips quivered, hesitating to answer. She thought for a moment and then looked at Yeonju as if she had no plans of backing down and said, I'm going to try shock treatment. What? Master Kang-woo is in a state of unconsciousness. If he experiences a large enough psychological shock, he might come back to his senses. There was no logic or evidence to back up her claims. It was but a guess filled with desire and hope. I'm sure. He will, however, there was no other way but to grab hold of an uncertain hope in such a crisis. How are you going to shock him? Asked Yeonju as she narrowed her eyes, a faint sense of uneasiness running down her back. Silence fell again. Yeonju grabbed Lilith's arm and asked again fiercely, how exactly are you going to psychologically shock Kang-woo? Tell me now. Lilith averted her gaze from Yeonju and whispered. Then he might come back. What? I said he might come back to his senses if I jump into that wave of black mucus. Kang-woo cared for the ones he loved a great deal. If he were to be put in a situation where he would kill one of them with his own hands, he might instinctively try to avoid it. Even in the worst-case scenario where Lilith was devoured, it would at least serve as a huge psychological shock to him. Huh? Yeonju stared at Lilith dumbfoundedly. You want to jump into that mucus? Are you crazy? What are you gonna do if you die? Even if I do, that in itself will serve as enough psychological shock. Don't bullshit me, Yeonju shouted in rage. Do you even know what Kang-woo is like? Do you seriously think he would power up and miraculously come to his senses after he gets shocked from killing you? Lilith flinched as her eyes shook. Let's say that he does come back to his senses. How do you think that son of a bitch would feel? Do you think he'll thank you for sacrificing yourself? That's a problem for later. It's not a problem to be put off. If Kang-woo found out he killed Lilith with his own hands, he would never be able to live with himself for it. Then what? Lilith clenched her fists and lowered her head. What do you suggest we do? Kang-woo was devoured by the demonic sea and lost consciousness. The demonic sea was flooding out of control now that all three doors were open and devouring everything in its path. At this rate, every world would be engulfed by the abyss of the demonic sea. Do you have any other ideas? They needed a way to turn around this endless nightmare for the better. Yeonju slurred, right, you don't. There is no other choice. Lilith knew that it was nonsense. It was illogical and completely groundless. It was a nearly hopeless plan. However, there was something that broke her heart more than the extremely low success rate of this plan. I don't want to say goodbye to my king either. Tears flowed down Lilith's cheeks. If Kang-woo came back to his senses through her death, she would no longer be able to meet him. She would forever be unable to embrace him and feel his warmth. But no matter how sad and pained I am, I made a promise. Lilith promised that she would stop Kang-woo if something were to happen to him. Lilith, Yeonju stared with shaking eyes at the sobbing Lilith. Her usual seductive and calm demeanor was nowhere to be seen. She grabbed Lilith's hand and said, I'll go with you. Pardon? We need to give him a psychological shock, don't we? Wouldn't you say 2 people would be more effective than 1? It was embarrassing for Yeonju to say, but Kang-woo once said that she was precious to him. Hence, she would also be enough to provide Kang-woo with a psychological shock. And no, said Lilith, why is it okay for you and not for me? HMPH, don't pretend like you're the only tragic heroine. Yeonju snorted and turned her head away. She twirled her red hair with her fingers and continued, it's not like I have feelings for that virgin. I'm just paying him back for all the times he saved my life. Yeah, I can't deny that he helped me many times and what the hell, why are you laughing? Lilith, who had been crying, giggled with her hand over her mouth. She couldn't help but laugh even in such a despairing situation. Really, I understand why the king loves teasing you. Lilith caressed Yeonju's cheek and smiled. It can't be helped then. You can come with, wait Lilith. Seala, who had been listening in silence, approached them. Lilith's expression hardened. No, you are the only one I absolutely can't allow to. No, that's not what I meant. Seala shook her head. Pardon? Lilith's eyes widened. Seala pointed at something and said, look over there. She was pointing at the corpse of a demon covered in red muscles. It was Balrog. Huh? Lilith's eyes widened as she stared at the corpse. The tsunami of black mucus was flowing in a way that avoided only the area around Balrog's corpse, as if there was an invisible barrier around him. What the hell? What's going on? Yeonju also stared dumbfoundedly at Balrog's corpse. Ciala and Lilith's gazes met. It's proof that Kang-woo is hesitant to attack Mr. Balrog even when he's unconscious. But Balrog is already it. Might not be too late, said Ciala as she bit her lip. Kang-woo would most definitely have tried to heal Balrog with all his might, but he likely failed. That had caused Kang-woo to end up that way, at the very least. I'm confident that I'm better than Kang-woo in healing. But of course, not even Ciala could do something as absurd as bringing the dead back to life, but even just a little bit. If Balrog was breathing just a tiny bit, no, even if he wasn't breathing but could still be brought back to life, I can save him. A person could still be brought back to life a few minutes after their heart stopped. Lilith remained silent. It was uncertain whether or not Balrog could be saved or if Kang-woo would even come back to his senses after saving Balrog. The chances were so low that Lilith even thought her initial plan had a higher chance of success. However, let's do it. There was no point in hesitating just because of low chances. After all, they had no choice but to cling to even the tiniest amount of hope in a situation as despairing as this. Fu, all right, Yeonju nodded. There was no time to dawdle now that they had decided to do it. Clatter, red chains poured out of her bracelets. Both of you grab onto the chains. Lilith and Ciala grabbed the chains. Here we go, Yeonju raised her arms high and quickly swung them down. Bang! The chains smashed into the ground and flung the three women into the air. They were aiming for the area where Balrog's corpse was, the only location protected from the black tsunami that was devouring everything. Grrrrrrrrrrrrrk. NGH. Black mucus shot at them as soon as Yeonju flew into the air. She twisted in midair and spread her arms widely. Red Lotus 8th form, clatter. Hundreds of chains slithered as if they were alive. Red Lotus kaleidoscope. The chains expanded like a net and protected the three women. Crack, crunch, the black mucus began to devour Yeonju's chains. Now, Yeonju used the short amount of time that the black mucus was blocked by the chains to link herself with chains to the area around Balrog. Clatter, the chains shortened, shooting the three women to the area around Balrog. Boom. Once the three of them arrived next to Balrog, the black mucus stopped chasing them. No, to be more precise, it was not charging at them. The black mucus surrounding Balrog was slowly reducing its radius. Shit. It's slowly getting closer to us. Ciala, treat Balrog as I keep the mucus at bay. I will assist. Yeonju and Lilith stood on either side of Ciala to protect her. Ciala nodded and placed her hand on Balrog's corpse. Please, let there be just a sliver of hope. Let me save him. Womb, blinding light poured out of the 12 wings on Ciala's back. Mr. Balrog. Ciala bit her lip and focused all of her sacred power on both hands. White light flowed into Balrog, regenerating his severed arms and the horrible injuries all over his body. It worked, Ciala's eyes filled with hope. However, Mr. Balrog, no matter how much sacred power she poured, even after healing all of his injuries, Balrog was not breathing. He did not open his eyes. Tears welled around Ciala's eyes. She realized that Balrog was dead and that no hope of him breathing again existed. I'm sorry, tears flowed down Ciala's cheeks. I'm so sorry, Kang-woo. It was impossible to bring Balrog, Kang-woo's precious friend, back to life. Unless a miracle were to occur. Ring, just then Ciala heard the chime of a bell. The crying Ciala raised her head. The activation condition of miracle has been fulfilled. Translucent light particles poured out of Ciala and lit up the earth covered in black mucus. Chapter 517, Miracle, Part 2. What the hell? Cha Yeonju, who was stopping the black mucus from approaching them, turned around in surprise. Translucent light containing inexplicable power was pouring out from hand Ciala and lighting up the earth covered in the tsunami of black mucus. What the hell is happening? Entreated Yeonju. She had no idea why such power was pouring out from Ciala. It's different from usual. The soul of celestial goddess Xperrif was inside Ciala, so most of her magic spells were powered by sacred power. But this is... Yeonju narrowed her eyes. She had felt this power from somewhere before. That rogue brat. She recalled the rogue player who had appeared like a supernova and defeated Kim Si-hun with an overpowered item he happened to find in a dungeon. Yeonju was sure that the translucent light coming out of Ciala was the same as the light flowing out from Kim Si-hun's necklace during his duel against Si-hun. What's going on? She couldn't understand why that light was suddenly coming out of Si-hun. Not just that. It was overwhelmingly brighter than the light the necklace used to pour out. Grrrrrrrrrk. The black mucus reached a hair's breadth away from her while she was distracted. Yeonju quickly stepped back to widen the distance from the mucus that was slowly closing the distance. Yeonju, focus, yelled Lilith. But we don't have the leeway to worry about that. Yeonju anxiously bit her lip and nodded. Clatter, even more red chains poured out of her bracelets. Okay, she answered. It was not the time to worry about what was happening to Siala or whose power that was. Fu. She took a deep breath, lowered her stance, and spread the chains like a net. The only thing she could do was to protect Siala until she was finished healing Balrog. They could only struggle to keep their hold on the sliver of hope. Red Lotus, third form. Whirl, the red chains surged like a tornado. Red petal obstruction. A red lotus bloomed and the petals made of red chains surrounded the area like a dome. Grrrrrrrrrk, ka. The red lotus blocked the tsunami of black mucus. Yeonju's arms trembled from the immense pressure on the chains. She panted heavily and her legs shook like crazy. She could tell she wouldn't be able to hold it much longer. Siala, Yeonju looked back at Siala, her expression mixed with worry and hope. Womb, beautiful light particles that looked like crystal fragments were still coming out of Siala. Ayeha, Siala groaned as immense power boiled inside her. It's so hot. It felt like she was burning from the inside. She bit her lip. She could pass out at any second from the raging current of power inside her, but she couldn't afford to lose herself right now. What was? Siala gazed at the blue message window that appeared in front of her. It said that the activation condition for Miracle had been fulfilled, along with additional information underneath. The skill Miracle can only be used once. All power granted by Nostrian will vanish once used. Nostrian, Siala had heard that name somewhere before. Lilith was looking for them if I remember correctly. She was not exactly sure what the beings known as Titans were. There. Something like the creators of the universe. At least that was how Kang-woo described them. They were likely not completely almighty, considering there were multiple of them, but it did not change the fact that they were extraordinary beings. In that case, Siala pointed her hands at Balrog's corpse. Please, let there be a miracle that lives up to their name. Siala closed her eyes. She had no idea why such a power entered her and who the being known as Nostrian was. No, she didn't even know whether or not this miracle skill could bring Balrog back to life. But womb, translucent light burst. Siala placed her hands on Balrog's chest and prayed on the sliver of hope she was holding on to. NGH, Siala grimaced. Her hands trembled as she barely held on, currents of power rampaging inside her like river rapids. How much longer, Siala? Shouted Yeonju as she kept the black mucus at bay. Over half of the red lotus surrounding the area had been devoured by the mucus. The massive black wave would soon engulf the red lotus and the three women whole. More. Siala bit her lip and continued just a little more Yeonju. Womb, the translucent light particles coming out of her gathered around her hand. Miracle, the translucent light flowed into Balrog, crack, crunch. The flesh on Balrog's chest ripped open and exposed his crushed heart. His two arms disappeared and covered him in black blood. What the hell? Yeonju's eyes shook as she saw what was happening. She bit her lip as the injury Siala had healed came back. Did it fail? The three women could feel the sliver of hope they were holding onto for dear life disappearing. Wait, Lilith, who was staring at Balrog covered in blood, widened her eyes. She smiled brightly and said, It didn't fail. What? His injuries are getting worse again. What are you No. They're not getting worse. Lilith shook her head and stared at Balrog with no arms and horrible injuries all over him. Time is getting rewound. It was what Balrog looked like when they first saw him. He was walking within the darkness, the boundless abyss. His consciousness had long since burnt to a crisp. He no longer had any sense of reason or intelligence left. He couldn't remember who he was or what he was doing. Step. He simply walked, step. He walked forward through endless darkness without even knowing why he was walking. Why, he thought, why am I walking? He could not see the end of the road, no, an end did not even exist. There was nothing more pointless than continuing down a road with no end without rest. There's no need to keep walking. He knew there was no end. He knew his walk would never end. He was tired. His shoulders were heavy and his legs were shaking. I'll stop. It was pointless. He should stop here. Stopping here, lying down in the darkness and waiting to disappear was a far smarter decision. It's not a bad idea. The darkness was comfortable. It was endless and vast. He felt like he would have no regrets even if he were to melt into it. I'll stop. There was no meaning or purpose in his walk. He did not even know why he was walking forward. There was no reason at all he should keep walking. Step. However, a yard, he kept walking. He moved his right leg and then his left to keep moving forward. He didn't know why, he might never know why. Ward, however, he did not stop, even if the weight on his shoulders was crushing him and he could barely breathe. He needed to keep moving forward. He continued to walk through the endless abyss. My king. Just then, a demon covered in red muscles appeared in front of him. He remembered seeing the demon before he entered the abyss. Balrog. He remembered that one name. He did not remember what his own name was, but Balrog. He knew that the name of the demon in front of him was Balrog. That was all he remembered. Yes, my king. Balrog smiled faintly and nodded. He approached the man and placed his hand on his shoulder. You have done so well until now, my king. I have, yes you have, pushed through and came all this way with so much on your shoulders. I don't remember. Even if your memories have disappeared, everything you have done until now is right here. Balrog raised his hand and snapped his finger. Countless demons appeared before them, so many that they could fill the endless abyss. You have defeated every single one of these beings. He remained silent. He did not remember anything about them. My kings, Balrog called. The man could feel the warmth from Balrog's hand on his shoulder. You can rest now. You don't have to continue that wretched battle anymore. Sweet whispers entered the man's ears. His legs were just about to break anyway. His shoulders were about to be crushed anyway. There would be no better place to rest than here if he were to stop. You have really. Tears welled around Balrog's eyes. He got on one knee and bowed. Done so well, my king. The man stared at Balrog in silence. Did you say I can rest? He felt something was wrong. I did well until now. He couldn't explain it, but it felt like a piece of a puzzle did not match. No, pardon, yours, not Balrog, the man said as he fiercely glared at Balrog. You can just do as you have always done. The man heard a voice. It was the same voice as the Balrog in front of him, but they were different. The man stepped forward and reached out. My king, don't fuck with me. He grabbed Balrog by the neck. He bared his teeth and clenched harder. I'm crushed. The red demon's head exploded. Will not stop. He had never stopped. Wriggle, the abyss sloshed and collapsed as it tore apart. The man's vision came back. He could see light beyond the collapsing abyss. Kang-woo, darling, Kang-woo saw Siala. Next to her were Yeonju and Lilith. What the hell happened to you? Yeonju was staring at him in pallor. Kang-woo looked down at himself. Only his face was out of the black mucus. It was no wonder why Yeonju was horrified. Kang-woo could feel his consciousness burning away. His memories flickered and his vision blurred. Grrrrrrk. The black mucus began to devour him again. Just then, didn't you say I would be in for it once this was over? Kang-woo heard a voice. I don't think you'll be able to keep that promise with the state you're in. A hearty laughter echoed throughout the area. Kang-woo slowly turned his head. Balrog, he saw a demon covered in red muscles smiling brightly at him. Chapter 518, I am Satan. How? Oh, Kang-woo stared at Balrog in disbelief. The stupid demon covered in red muscles who crushed his own heart to protect his king was somehow alive. It's thanks to Siala, Lilith answered in Balrog's place. What? Kang-woo stared at Han Siala, unable to understand. He knew her extraordinary healing abilities and how they far surpassed his authority of regeneration. However, you brought a dead person back to life. The power of resurrection was on a whole other level than healing. It was impossible to bring the dead back to life even if she possessed the soul of Xperrif. After all, even celestial goddess Xperrif was but a god. How in the world? Kang-woo stared at Siala, his eyes shaking anxiously. The miracle she had pulled off was impossible with just her powers. His current self was the perfect example of what happens if one uses powers beyond their capability. It was the power of Nostrian, Siala answered. Nostrian, the Titan of Time. Kang-woo's expression was dyed in confusion after the name that he thought had become irrelevant after Kim Tae-hyun's necklace broke was mentioned again. My king, let us leave the questioning for later, said Lilith as she approached him. As she had mentioned, there was no time to wonder in detail about Nostrian. We have to get you out of TH. Lilith approached Kang-woo to pull Kang-woo, whose head was the only part of his body exposed, out of the black mucus. Stay back, commanded Kang-woo as she glared at her. Lilith flinched. Kang-woo's eyes were filled with sorrow. If you come here, you'll die too. Even now, he felt like his consciousness would be burned away at any second. The desire to eat was about to take over him. My king, Lilith muttered as she shed tears. Kehe, how unlike you, my king, Balrog snickered as he walked toward Kang-woo. Kang-woo's expression filled with shock as he hastily yelled, You fucking muscle pig, do you want to die again that badly after you were brought back to life? However, Balrog did not stop. I have already died once. He smiled and continued, I guess it wouldn't be so bad to die for my king again. Ha, Kang-woo chuckled. Fucking hell, stop trying to act like a badass. He couldn't help but snicker. Balrog smiled and said, I could say the same for you, my king. What? Ye who pass me to the city of grief. Kang-woo's eyes widened. Why you fucking, hehe, it was a rather magnificent incantation. Why you son of a bitch. You were listening, no wait, you were dead at the time. Balrog tilted his head in wonder and answered, come to think of it I was, but I have memories after the fact for some reason. Balrog, yes my king, you should just die again. Hehe. I will set my life ablaze as many times as it takes for you, my king. Balrog got on one knee and bowed his head. Silence fell. Kang-woo burst into laughter unbeknownst to himself. Biwahahaha. His consciousness was fading, his sense of reason and intelligence were being eaten away by desire, and he was in so much pain that he could go insane at any second but. Haraharahaha, Kang-woo couldn't stop laughing. He found the stupidly joyous situation and the happy ending mixed with coincidence and fate all too precious to him. My king, Balrog called quietly. His mischievous expression from earlier was nowhere to be seen. He stared at Kang-woo, who was covered in black mucus, and asked, "Will you be able to endure it?" He had once seen Kang-woo in this state at the climax of the Thousand-Year War during his battle against Baal. During that battle, the Demon King opened the second door of the 10,000 Demon Core and destroyed everything around him, his sense of reason completely gone. It was no exaggeration to say that Kang-woo's survival after that battle was no less of a miracle than Balrog's resurrection. But the situation was different. He had opened not two but all three doors. He destroyed himself as the vessel and allowed the demonic sea to run out of control. Even if the same miracle were to occur, Kang-woo would not be the same as before. There was only one way. The king has to devour the demonic sea. Kang-woo needed to beat the demonic sea into submission and gain complete control over its power. No, he needed to become the demonic sea itself. It would be a battle against a sea of demonic energy which had devoured millions of demons and one person. It couldn't even be called a battle, just like how a person couldn't fight a sea. But there was no other way for Kang-woo to come back. If he couldn't resist the encroachment of the demonic sea and devour it, he would not be able to stay as Kang-woo. "You're asking if I'll be able to endure it?" Kang-woo asked. The battle to devour the demonic sea would be nearly endless. He would be engaged in a hopeless battle for almost an eternity. "What's wrong with you, Balrog?" Kang-woo smiled. He then said as if the answer was obvious, "You know who I am." "Kahehehe," Balrog chuckled. "I want to see Si-hun and the others before I go, but—" Wriggle, Kang-woo's face began to be sucked into the mucus again. He couldn't stay here for much longer. "Well, it can't be helped." Kang-woo looked at Xiala, Lilith and Cha Yeonju to say, "Wait for me." "Hey, Kang-woo, Kang-woo," Kang-woo snickered and said, "I'll be back after I win." Grrrrrrk. Kang-woo's face was sucked into the mucus. Balrog lowered his head, still on one knee in front of the area where Kang-woo vanished from. There really is no stopping him." Lilith approached as her black hair fluttered and glared at Balrog. "That aside, why are you sticking so close to the king like you're a heroine?" "Heroine? What does that mean?" "HMPH, I don't know." Lilith snorted in dissatisfaction. Rumble. Just then, the black mucus pouring out of the black sun above Seoul stopped. The black tsunami, which had been devouring everything in its path as if to engulf the entire city, was sucked back into the black sun at breakneck speed. What's happening?" Yeonju asked as she looked around at the black mucus that was suddenly disappearing. "The battle has begun," Lilith answered as she turned to her and smiled. "Battle? Yes." Lilith looked up at the black sun and continued, "The battle between the demonic sea and our king. It would be an absurdly illogical battle." Lilith stood next to Balrog and also got on one knee. She looked into the black sun and thought of her king, who was likely fighting inside. "Victory?" Lilith lowered her head and brought her hands together as if praying. "To my king." Radiant sword energy split space itself, slash. Kurg, the hunchback demon, stepped backward and clenched his chest. "Erg." Ammon glared fiercely at Si-hun. "This is a human." He was unbelievably powerful, almost on par with Tai Wuji, the leader of the constellations of evil. "Move," said Si-hun as he gritted his teeth and raised his sword. He did not have time to waste fighting this hunchback demon. "Hyung Nim." Si-hun anxiously gripped his sword tightly. "Kekek, it's too late, human swordsman," Ammon cackled. He had lost the battle but succeeded in keeping the human swordsman at bay. About now, Baal should have had more than enough time to devour the Demon King and get his hands on the demonic sea. "Kekahahaha," Ammon burst into laughter as he pounded his staff on the ground repeatedly. Si-hun grimaced. He needed to kill Ammon and go to Kang-woo as soon as possible. "Heavenly Dragon, Kekek," Ammon cackled as if to cut Si-hun off and took something out from his pocket. It was a black crystal orb filled with impure demonic energy. "Tusk. I wanted to use it a little later, but I have no choice." Ammon clenched the black orb and chanted, his voice like nails on a chalkboard. "O Prince of Wrath!" Demonic energy surged from the black orb. "Open your eye, Rumble." Just then a black sun rose in the skies of Seoul. Countless demons poured out from the sun. This is. Ammon looked up at the black sun and the demons pouring out from it in pallor. He roughly understood what it meant. The abyss, the third door of the demonic sea had opened. "And no," Ammon screamed at the black sun. No one was capable of holding the demonic sea now that the abyss had been unleashed. "That crazy son of a bitch," Ammon shouted. "Those demons." Si-hun stared at the demons pouring out of the black sun, his expression frozen. He then gripped his sword tightly. This isn't the time to be distracted. He needed to go to Kang-woo as soon as possible. Shit, shit, screamed Ammon as he pulled his gray hair. He could tell that everything had failed and that Baal had lost. "How?" Ammon staggered. "Hoop." Si-hun took advantage of that opening and pounced like a beast. Stab. Kurg, Si-hun's sword pierced Ammon's stomach. How did the third door?" Ammon continued to stare at the black sun even with a sword piercing him. He mumbled, "At this rate, the primordial knowledge, the Titan." Ammon trembled. Damn it, he smashed his staff in two. Rumble, enormous amounts of demonic energy stormed as soon as the staff broke. Kuh, Si-hun grunted as he quickly jumped backward. Ammon, who was staring up at the sky with blank eyes, was slowly sucked into the black storm. It was almost in my grasp. Ammon frowned fiercely and shouted, "It was just one step away." His voice was filled with desire. He continued to curse as he disappeared into the black storm. NGH. Si-hun was about to swing his sword at Ammon as he disappeared into the storm but shook his head. "I have to get to Hyung-nim." He did not have any more time to waste. He turned around and leaped forward, speeding to where the black sun appeared. Grrrrrrrk, this is. However, black mucus began to pour out of the black sun and prevented him from advancing any further. Shit. He quickly raised his sword and swung it at the tsunami of black mucus. Slash, slash. However, the black mucus regenerated instantly after each slash, no matter how many times he swung his sword. Shit, shit, tears flowed down Si-hun's cheeks. Kang-woo. Hyung, he bit his lip and continued to slash the black mucus. He advanced little by little as he wished for his will to reach Kang-woo. Split. A crack formed on the black crystal on the ground. Shatter. The orb broke and black demonic energy surged out of it. Gaya, demonic energy gathered and took the form of a demon with black scleras, yellow irises, and horizontal pupils. I am. The demon extended his arm enveloped in thick demonic energy. He said chillingly, "Death, I am the end, I am the father of all wrath, and I am wrath itself. I am Satan, the prince of wrath, who had been defeated by the demon king and devoured by him, manifested once again." Kekeha, Satan looked down at himself. Immense power, far more than when he lost to the demon king, was coursing through him. Khhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhhh. Satan gritted his teeth. I have returned, Demon King, to fulfill my rage, my hatred, my wrath will devour you. Satan recalled everything the Demon King had done to him, all the humiliating memories. "I will tear apart everything you have with my wrath," shouted Satan, the Prince of Wrath. Grrrrrrrrrrrrk. Just then, a tsunami of black mucus engulfed him as he was in the middle of laughing madly. Who? Satan expressed confusion. What is this? G, get off of me. Aara. He was sucked into the black mucus after making contact with it even a little. No, I've only just been revived. No. What the hell is this sticky substance? What the hellllllllll? Grrrrrrrrrk. He had been sharpening his blade all this time as he imagined his revenge, but he ended up disappearing into the black mucus. Damn it, why is this happening to me? Stop. Why the fuck are you doing this to me? Chapter 519, King of the Demonic Sea. Kang-woo walked through the darkness where direction was non-existent. He was simply stepping forward within the endless abyss. My name is. He carefully said his name and wrapped his arms around his head. His consciousness was fortunately more vivid compared to when he first entered the abyss, but it was still only to the point that his name was all he could remember. "This is enough," Kang-woo stammered and smiled. It was more than enough. He continued to walk through the darkness. Grrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrr hole. A hellhound. Kang-woo recalled the monster. It was the first demonic beast he encountered when he fell into the first hell. I have to start over from the beginning, is it? Kang-woo chuckled and approached the hellhound, who was baring its fangs at him ferociously without hesitation. He had run away like a coward when he first fell into hell, but he no longer had a reason to. After all, he was the one and only predator. Grahhhh, the hellhound roared and charged at Kang-woo. Its sharp fangs were still gleaming within the darkness. Hup, Kang-woo also moved in response. He could not use his hundreds of authorities inside the abyss of the demonic sea, a space made by his consciousness. He did not have his transcendent deific essence or the flames of veracity that burned with chaos as its fuel either. There was only one thing left to him. Kang-woo dodged the hellhound, grabbed its neck fur and got on top of the demonic beast. Crunch, whine. He opened his mouth wide and took a bite out of the hellhound. Grrrrrrrrrrr. However, the injury was only the size of his mouth. It was but a scratch for a 3-meter-tall hellhound. Crunch, 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 whine. Kang-woo stuck to the hellhound and continued to take bites out of it. He activated the Authority of Predation, and the demonic energy flowing in the hellhound was absorbed into Kang-woo. To be more exact, it was not the hellhound's demonic energy but the demonic energy of the demonic sea itself. Heya, Kang-woo exhaled. He stepped on the hellhound's corpse, which had become mush, and looked up at the endless darkness. All he had left at the moment was the Authority of Predation. Well, I guess it's better than the first time I fell into hell, Kang-woo chuckled. He could feel his consciousness becoming more vivid after devouring one hellhound. He looked down at himself. He could feel the demonic energy of the demonic sea, which he could only store inside the 10,000 demon core in the past, permeating throughout his body. I can absorb it. Kang-woo could make the boundless demonic sea his own. Now then, Kang-woo smiled and raised his head as he turned around. Grrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrr It was the army of the abyss that had appeared from the black sun the moment Kang-woo opened the third door. They had followed Kang-woo's commands and attacked Bale before, but now they were lined up to tear apart his consciousness. Ha, Kang-woo chuckled because he saw a familiar face among the army of the abyss. Bale. Oh, Kang-woo. The half-melted Bale crawled on the ground as he glared at Kang-woo from below. He muttered as if cursing him, I'll kill you. Kang-woo smiled brightly. What a relief. I thought it was a bit of a shame that I killed you in such an anticlimactic way. Kang-woo walked toward the army of evil numbering millions without hesitation. Why you? Bale glared at Kang-woo resentfully. You will never escape from here. Kang-woo had opened the third door. He destroyed himself as a vessel and unleashed the abyss. One who stepped foot in the abyss could never escape. Why you will be stuck with me in this abyss? Bale smiled. And slowly, there was no such thing as death in a world made of one's consciousness. The fight would never end until the consciousness of the entity known as Kang-woo melted into the abyss and disappeared. There was no other end for Kang-woo other than to slowly break down in this perpetual hell for all of time. I wonder about that, mentioned Kang-woo. He did not falter even when he was faced with despair. He said leisurely, I'd rather not hang out with a brat like you. Bale stared blankly at Kang-woo, unable to understand. How can you be like that, even under such despair and facing inevitable demise? How can you never stop? Bale asked, slightly fearful. Kang-woo shrugged and stepped forward slowly, 1 foot at a time. He could see Bale gritting his teeth anxiously. It's pointless, no matter how much you resist. Bale had only realized after being devoured by the abyss how absurd his notion of getting his hands on the demonic sea, the primordial darkness. You will fail. This battle will never end. No, Kang-woo shook his head. This isn't a battle. He was not about to engage in a desperate and heroic battle against these millions of demonic beasts and demons. You don't call devouring prey a battle, do you? There was a perfect term to describe this situation. Now then, it's time for a feast. Kang-woo opened his arms wide and charged at the army of the abyss. Crunch, crunch, sharp teeth bit into flesh, muscles were torn apart and bones were crushed. Crunch, crunch. Kang-woo couldn't remember how long he had been in this boundless darkness, shoving every single demon he devoured into his stomach. He gave up on keeping time after 15 years had passed. An immensely long time passed since he gave up. It might have been a century, no, a millennium. No, it could have even been 10 millennia. More time than what it took for him to become the Demon King after falling into hell could have passed. I guess I should be thankful. This is a space made by my consciousness. If he was stuck in a place where the flow of time was not different from reality, the earth that he knew would no longer be there even if he managed to get out of this darkness. Crunch, crunch. Time continued to pass. His legs shook with each step he took, and so did his jaws as he bit into flesh. Even after more time that felt like an eternity passed, darkness was all that surrounded Kang-woo. He panted heavily. The willpower that Kang-woo thought would never waver was reaching its limit. He wondered if it would ever end or if there was even an end. Ayarg. No matter how much he ate and ate again, darkness remained. The sea of demonic energy did not disappear. This is insane. It was as if he were trying to drink all the seawater that existed on Earth. Bale was right, it did not matter how much he resisted. He would never be able to escape from the endless darkness. Kang-woo swayed and fell to his knees. Grrrrrrrrrrr, the army of the abyss charged at him. He had no strength or willpower left to devour them. Let's just give up, I've lasted long enough. A millennium, no, more like over 10 millennia, I can't go on anymore. He was stupid to think he could devour the boundless sea of darkness and make it his own. He lost all strength as he stared at the army of evil charging at him. Crunch, he could feel sharp teeth and claws tearing him apart. Yeah, just like that, he would just give up. Kang-woo gritted his teeth. Wait for me. He recalled the words he said in the past that he couldn't even remember anymore before he plunged himself into the abyss. I'll be back after I win. Those words engraved themselves into his soul. Fuck. Kang-woo cursed. Crunch. He grabbed the horns of one of the demons biting him and ripped them out. He opened his mouth wide and bit into the demon. Not yet, he could still move. Not yet, he could still stand. Not yet, he could still advance. I am. He was the king of demons, the predator of predators, the demon king. He was the king of the demonic sea. Rumble, the abyss shook. Save you us, something changed. The army of the abyss that had been charging at him began to feel fear. No, it could be that the demonic sea itself was afraid of him. Now then, let's start again. Kang-woo stood up and smiled. He bared his teeth and slowly walked toward the army of the abyss, and with that, perpetual time resumed. Whoosh. A black sun was blazing above a desolate land with not even a blade of grass in sight. A gentle-looking woman with dark purple hair was staring blankly at the black sun. 3 years ago, Seoul was leveled during the war against Baal and his army. The citizens of Seoul who returned to Earth after being evacuated to Airner either moved to other cities of Korea or immigrated to other countries with the full support of guardians. It was not just citizens of Seoul who lost their homes who moved to southern regions of Korea. It was not just because Busan became the new capital of South Korea. Kang-woo Hanseala, the woman with dark purple hair, called in sorrow. It was mainly because of the black sun blazing above Seoul. Countless people moved to the south to get away from the ominous sun, but the woman still lived near the desolate land, waiting for a certain someone to return. "You're here again," said a red-haired woman as she approached Seala, who was looking up blankly at the black sun. "Oh, Yeonju, you're back." "Yeah, I was in Busan for a few days because of business with my guild," remarked Cha Yeonju as she held up a plastic bag. "I bought some beer. I'm fine, fine my ass, you've been coming here every day for the past 3 years, I know you've been barely eating." Seala smiled bitterly. "I don't even need to eat anymore." Her body had become closer to that of an angel. The need for sustenance had vanished. "But you still have a sense of taste," Yeonju said. "That's true, but then drink, I bought some fried chicken too." Yeonju sat next to Seala. Her hair, which had grown to her waist level, fluttered in the wind. She looked up at the black sun and asked, "Anything new?" Seala did not even need to ask who Yeonju was referring to. Seala shook her head with a heavy expression. Nothing about the black sun blazing above Seoul had changed since Kang-woo was sucked into it 3 years ago. "Heya, I've just about reached my limit stopping that son of a bitch Kim Si-hun from jumping in there." Yeonju sighed deeply and shook her head. "Whoosh, huh?" Yeonju's eyes widened. She pointed at the black sun and said, "Didn't that shrink a little?" "It shrunk." Seala quickly looked up at the black sun. As Yeonju said, the black sun was slowly shrinking in size. Even now it was shrinking at extraordinary speed. What the hell, what's happening?" Yeonju looked around in confusion. Seala trembled as he stared at the black sun. She could see someone coming out of the shrinking black sun. No, that wasn't the right word to use. The black sun was being absorbed into someone. Kang-woo. Tears welled up around Seala's eyes. She clasped her hands together and looked up at the man at the center of the black sun. Whoosh. The black sun was fully absorbed and disappeared, and the man whom she had longed for all this time walked out. "You've come back," said Seala as tears flowed down her cheeks. "Yeah, I'm back." Kang-woo nodded as he stared at Seala. "Let's get married. 3 kids sounds good." Kang-woo smiled as he extended his hand toward Seala. "Okay." Seala embraced Kang-woo as she cried. Yeonju stared at them in silence. "Get a fucking room, damn it." She spat on the ground and raised her middle finger at the couple. Chapter 520 Epilogue. Bang. A thunderous noise echoed inside the Hall of Protection, the fortress considered to be the Guardian's base of operations. A door swung open so hard that it could have ripped off its hinges, and a man who could be mistaken for a sculpture ran into the room. Tears flowed down his cheeks the moment he saw who was on the bed. Hyung Nim, OCH, Chwyunjinaya. Kurg, Kim Si-hun ran at the speed of light and hugged Kang-woo. Kang-woo struggled in Si-hun's arms and yelled, "That hurts, damn it." "Oh, I'm sorry, I was just so happy that I—" Si-hun smiled awkwardly and let go of Kang-woo. As he was stepping backward, a thought crossed his mind. "It hurts." Si-hun stared at Kang-woo with trembling eyes. He had indeed used too much strength because he was so happy, but simply using too much strength would not be enough to hurt Kang-woo. Hyung Nim, Si-hun anxiously looked down at Kang-woo and realized something he had not noticed until now. Were you always this small?" He tilted his head in confusion. He had always been taller than Kang-woo, but the height difference was never significant. Si-hun's mouth was left agape as he saw Kang-woo, who had shrunk to the point that he barely reached Si-hun's chest. Now that he took a closer look, Kang-woo had also become very slender. Although Kang-woo was never covered in swollen muscles like Balrog, he was fairly muscular. Now he looked extremely frail. What in the world? Si-hun stared at Kang-woo in shock. It was more accurate to say that he had become smaller than younger. Kang-woo clicked his tongue and shook his head. "The demonic sea I absorbed hasn't fully settled in my body yet. Shit, I was completely fine when I first arrived." Kang-woo mumbled in dissatisfaction. What does that mean, Hyung Nim?" "Well, it's temporary, so don't worry." Kang-woo chuckled. He had successfully devoured the abyss of the demonic sea and managed to dominate it after nearly an eternity of battle. No, dominate isn't the right word to use. To be more exact, his physical form had become one with the demonic sea. "It's temporary," Si-hun asked. "Yeah, it's only like this for now because my body is being reconstructed using the demonic sea. Once the demonic sea completely replaced his physical form, his former power and form would return to normal." "Well, I guess it wouldn't be the same." Kang-woo smiled. "Once his body was fully reconstructed and became the demonic sea itself, it would be no different from having the third door open at all times. I wonder if I could devour even a titan now." Based on what happened with Bali, Kang-woo doubted even a Titan would be a match for him. I guess it's too hasty to say that's the case since they created the universe. The only Titans Kang-woo knew were Bali and Nostrian. Among those two, he only knew the extent of Bali's strength. He had no idea how powerful the other Titans were. How long will you be like that for? Si-hun asked, staring at Kang-woo in worry. Kang-woo had not just become smaller, he had no access to his powers while his body was being reconstructed. Based on the energy Si-hun could feel from Kang-woo, he was only as strong as a slightly above-average player. Considering how powerful Kang-woo used to be, he had practically lost everything. It would be weirder if Si-hun wasn't worried. Who knows? I have no idea. Kang-woo shrugged and shook his head. He could instinctively tell that his body was in the middle of reconstruction, but not even he knew how long the process would be. Si-hun stared at Kang-woo passionately and clenched the hilt of the sword on his waist. Until your powers return, I will stick to you 24/7 and keep you safe. Screw that, please, I don't want to be stuck with a dude every hour of the day. But. Don't worry, Si-hun, said Han Xiala, who had been listening in silence and gently hugged Kang-woo. Her eyes lit up as she continued, I will keep Kang-woo safe. NGH. Si-hun flinched and glared at Xiala, his eyes filled with jealousy. Kang-woo frowned. The hell, why are you getting jealous? I can take care of my's. Boom, boom, boom. Just then, noises echoed throughout the hallway. An entity covered in red muscles squeezed through the doorframe. MMYKIING? Kurg Gaha. Kang-woo felt like he was being squeezed by a hydraulic press the moment Balrog embraced him. Not just that, he reeked of sweat, probably because he had been in the middle of training. Stop, I'm gonna die. My king WH, what happened to you? Huff huff, why have you gotten so squashed? What, squashed? Is that something you should be saying to your king? I'll explain, so get off of me, damn muscle P, slam, KNGWO. Kurg, HMK Kang-woo, I missed you. I missed you so much, Kang-woo. Save M, sniff, you told me you would never leave me alone, you said we'd be together forever, sniff, but where? I'm dying. Forget reconstruction, I'm gonna die before that. Heya, everyone calm down, a bewitching voice echoed throughout the room. Lilith, Layla, Iris, Halcyon, and Vol Zahak were standing side by side in front of the door, likely having been contacted by Xiala and Cha Yeonju. Wowya, Master Kang-woo, Halcyon clasped his hands together as he burst into tears. Sniff, I missed why sniff you. Me too, shouted Iris as she raised her arm. She wiped her tears and continued, I can't believe I got to see you again. It was worth putting off all my work in the Empire to stay on Earth. No, you shouldn't have put them off. Is the Arnon Empire even running at this point? It has been a while, Master. Vol Zahak bowed courteously. I have been keeping your room spick and span so that it would be ready for you when you returned. Clatter. Vol Zahak raised his arm and cleaning tools poured out from who knows where. I see, Kang-woo nodded reluctantly as he stared at the skeleton, the light in his eye sockets shining brightly and with a duster in his hand. That aside, Lilith walked through the room that was no different from a busy market street, looked down at the small Kang-woo and asked in worry, how did your body become like this? Kang-woo sighed. I should have waited to explain until everyone arrived. He was too lazy to repeat himself, it was not like he had a macro for it. You see, Kang-woo concisely explained what was happening to him. Layla's eyes widened after hearing the explanation. I get it now, what do you get? You're saying it's that kind of situation, aren't you? Layla snorted in excitement and grabbed Kang-woo's hands. One Shota, pardon, what the hell is that? I knew you were an M. What the hell are you talking about, woman? I can see it, Xiala, Lilith, and Yeonju, who is always on the side of getting teased. What the hell are you seeing? I feel like I've already seen 3 volumes of an Aro manga. You're not even trying to hide it anymore, are you? You used to try so hard to hide it. You used to be a frail and delicate character. I'm getting a nosebleed. Kang-woo grabbed his forehead as if he were getting a headache. The moving emotions everyone was feeling from reuniting with Kang-woo after 3 years were fading. I'm not sure what Layla is talking about, but Lilith approached Kang-woo as her eyes shone. Her hair moved as if it were alive and turned into green tentacles. You're wanting something like this, right? The tentacles slowly wrapped around Kang-woo. Fuck. Kang-woo turned in shock to get away, but the tentacles lifted him before he could escape. How long I've waited to be reunited with you, Master Kang-woo. Save me, Balrog, Kang-woo desperately called. That's enough, Lilith, Balrog said in a low tone and released Kang-woo from the tentacles by force. The king dislikes it. Be Balrog. You goddamn muscle pig son of a bitch. I fucking knew I could count on you. Wham, the king has been severely weakened. It is in times like this I should protect him by his side at all times. Balrog hugged Kang-woo with one hand, his terrible stench of sweat attacking Kang-woo's nose. Kurg fucked, my king, there no nothing for you to worry about. Stop. I will not let you go until your powers return. Please stop. Save me. What are you talking about, Balrog? I will be the one to protect Hyung Nim. Me too, me too. Damn muscle pig, how dare you get in the way of my lovey-dovey time with Master Kang-woo? Do you have any idea how long I've waited for this day? Sniff. Why am I the only one you don't greet, Master Kang-woo? Is it because I'm ugly? Fuck. Kang-woo twisted and turned as he pulled on his hair. His sense of smell was getting attacked by Balrog's stench of sweat, and Lilith's tentacles were entering through the openings of his clothes. His limbs were being pulled in all directions as if he were getting tortured. Fuck, my life, Herg. Tears flowed down Kang-woo's cheeks. Heya. Kang-woo barely managed to chase his comrades out of the house after the chaos on par with the abyss of the demonic sea died down. I can finally take a break. He laid on the bed and sighed in relief. He didn't mind greeting them, but he had been drained of his energy after they greeted him so hard that his bones broke. He looked at his palm. He couldn't help but smile despite not doing anything. I'm back. He had returned after overcoming the near-eternal battle. I still have some more things left to do, though. Kang-woo looked through his faint memories. He had received a proposal from the system through a message when he had almost fully devoured the demonic sea. He recalled the message in his mind. Proposing to nominate player Kang-woo as a guardian deity to replace the broken Gaia system. Guardian deity, huh? It was an entity that protected the triad from otherworldly invasions, Gaia's former position. Well, I have no reason to refuse. The otherworldly invasions were not over yet. Earth's protection had been broken beyond repair due to Baal, so the otherworldly invasions would continue. Let them come. Kang-woo smiled. Since the protective barrier around Earth was gone, he just needed to take its place and devour all those daring to invade the triad. That aside, how long will my body reconstruction take? Someone knocked on his door as he was mumbling. May I enter, Kang-woo? Darling. Kang-woo's eyes widened and he got up from the bed. Xiala entered the room with a large pot in her hands. That's, ho-ho, I made some because I had a feeling you would like some. Kang-woo stared fixedly at the kimchi stew that Xiala brought. Saliva poured down from the corners of his mouth. As I thought, you're the only one for me, darling. Kang-woo kissed Xiala on the cheek and reached for the spoon, but Xiala grabbed his hand. You're still unwell. I'll feed you, Xiala remarked. I can still eat on my own, you know. I'll feed you. Xiala gripped Kang-woo's hand tighter as if she would not take no for an answer. Sure. Kang-woo nodded with an awkward smile. Okay, Kang-woo. Xiala placed a piece of pork and kimchi on top of a bed of rice and brought it to Kang-woo's mouth. Nom nom, Kaya, this is it. I've wanted to eat your kimchi stew for so long. Ho ho. We have plenty, so dig in. Xiala gently patted Kang-woo as she fed him. Kang-woo's expression hardened for a moment. It kind of feels like I'm being bred. Is it just me? Getting forced to be fed made Kang-woo feel like a goose held captive, being fed for the sole purpose of being killed for foie gras. Now I'm sure I'm imagining things. Kang-woo shook his head to chase away his negative thoughts. Darling is just worried about me. Although temporary, he had lost most of his powers. It was only natural the gentle Xiala would be worried about him. Kang-woo relaxed his hardened expression and let himself be fed by Xiala again. Heya, thanks for the meal. Kang-woo smiled in satisfaction after emptying the large pot of kimchi stew. Xiala smiled and wiped the stew off of his mouth. I'll hit the hay for today, darling. Xiala's expression hardened for a moment after hearing that. Come to think of it, Kang-woo, you've lost most of your powers temporarily, right? Yeah, in that case. The light in Xiala's eyes disappeared for a fraction of a second. No matter what I do to you, you can't resist, right? Darling, ho-ho-ho-ho, Xiala giggled ominously. I've been holding myself back. From the moment we reunited, you know, while everyone was hugging you and shedding tears of joy, I really did my best to hold it in. Xiala placed the empty pot outside the room. So, darling, now I don't have to hold it in anymore, right? Kang-woo. Xiala approached Kang-woo, her eyes in a haze. W to Siko MMRP. Xiala shoved her tongue inside Kang-woo's mouth before he had a chance to finish his sentence. She reached for the door with one hand. Click, the sound of the door being locked echoed throughout the house. Main story finished.